All right.
All right.
Ready to rock.
Ready to go from the Shaker Heights Country Club. Hi, everybody. Sam Berkwin and TJ Downing on the Stark Media YouTube channel. Welcome to the NFL Alumni Association golf outing today at the beautiful Shaker Heights Country Club. We're happy to be here. Get a chance, check us out, Stark Media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and, of course, on the Stark Media YouTube channel. And while you're at it, give us a little subscribe. It's free. Subscribe does not mean pay. It means free. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, want to shout out our great list of sponsors today here, making this possible. C.H. Vallis and Associates, NFL Alumni Association, Simon Says Promotions, McNeil & Sons Tree Service, the Spirit of Stark, the Quarry Golf and Event Center, and, of course, your good friends here at Stark Media. Sam Berkwin, DJ Downing, our good buddy Jimmy Ballard is out on the course, whacking them around as we speak. We're going to be speaking with a lot of great folks here today from the outing here at the Shaker Heights. And before we go any further, big fella, here we go. Monday, right out of the chute, Stark Media at the beautiful Shaker Heights Country Club. And we got some great guests and kind of a little debut of the show here today. And looking forward to a long and lasting doing it up here on Stark Media.
Yeah, we've kind of done some different elements here and there, and this was kind of one that we really wanted to get as we really take this thing off here with Spitballing with Sammy B. Come out here, get to talk to some legends like this guy right here, Ben Davis. We appreciate you joining us. We know football is fully in the air right now. Just had the Browns and the Eagles. They're getting ready to wrap up training camp. They're getting ready to wrap up those preseason games, get into the season. We had high school football that launched. We have college football that's coming up. It's in the air. And when you're in Northeast Ohio, it's always a special feeling, right? I mean, you know what it's all about around here.
Oh, yeah. I remember back in my days, I mean, it starts in July. It starts before that, but by July, camp starts. And back then we did tour days. So you would get all worked up. And sometimes the older guys wanted to save their legs. They couldn't go too much. But by August, September, you're fine-tuning your body now, and you're getting ready to kick it off for the season.
Now, Ben, I want to make sure I get everything lined up in a row here, right? Your last year was?
Well, a lot of grandparents know me. But my last year was 76 with the Lions. I was with the Detroit Lions. I started with the Browns in 1967.
Okay.
And stayed until 73. And then for the last 3 years of my career, I went to Detroit and played Detroit. So I had a 10-year career. For the most part, it was good. I had a knee injury that really kind of put me out of commission for a whole year. I finally got that new knee put in here 2 years ago, so I'm ready to tee it up now and go at it.
All right. I just want to make sure our timeline was right because a couple questions I want to kind of throw at you. You talked about two-a-days.
Yes.
Oh, those are long gone.
Right. Oh,
now,
yeah.
When you played now, they were still playing 6 preseason games and 14 regular. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct. We had 6 preseason games, and the story goes.
And you guys played. You didn't.
Oh no,
you didn't. Yeah. You weren't in bubble wrap. You were playing.
We played. You know, if you were a starter, you played every game for the most part. I guess what we used to say, what was the truth back then was that the whole roster's salary could be paid by the money that was received during those 6 exhibition games. Because if you're a season ticket holder, you had to pay for those 6 tickets anyway. So yeah, it was a lot. We worked a lot. In the event, there was 20 games for the whole year that we played. So
that is unbelievable. I remember one weekend during the preseason, I was just a young buck. I might have been 8 or 9 years old, and my dad and I were driving around the car. And he flipped on our local station. They carried the Browns preseason and everything. And he turned it on, and I hear Gib Shanley's doing the play-by-play with, I think it was Jimmy Mueller.
Yeah.
And gosh, Jimmy just passed away a couple days ago.
Yeah,
our thoughts and prayers with the Mueller family.
So sad.
And we're driving around, and he says, the Browns and the Bills. I'm like, wait a minute. I looked at my dad, I go, didn't they just play the Bills last weekend? He says, yep, they went home and home. You guys used to play Buffalo one weekend and Buffalo again. He would just switch sites. That's crazy to me.
Well, we played the Cincinnati Bengals 3 times in 1 year. Obviously home and away with the conference, but then we played them in Columbus during the exhibition season. So, yeah, there was a lot of that going on. Needless to say, we knew our opponents extremely well.
Sure. So as the seasons unfold for you, at what point did you say, hey, you know what, I think I can make this a go and have a nice career? You said you ended up going 10 years, which is incredible. I don't care what era you're playing in. When did it hit you that you thought, you know what, I'm in the right spot for me? This is going to be okay.
Well, I don't know how much time you have, but
We got all day, man. We got all day. Never mind that beautiful golf course out there. We got all day.
I attended Defiance College. Now, I don't know if you
Northwest
know about
part of Ohio,
Northwest,
around Toledo. Yeah.
And I was drafted in the 17th round from Defiance.
Okay.
I was a running back there. The Browns were looking for a punt returner to replace Leroy Kelly because Jim Brown had retired and Leroy was gaining 1,000 yards, so he needed that rest. So that was my opportunity. It was a stretch to think that I would make the team because they had Carl Ward. They had some other guys from Michigan, Ohio State that could do their job as well. I was expected to be cut. We did a West Coast trip back then. We would go after 2 weeks of Hiram. We practiced down in Hiram.
Yep,
After 2 weeks of Hiram, we'd go to the West Coast and play San Francisco and the LA Rams. And after you did that trip, then they would fire you. They would make a big cut, and most of the guys would go out. Well, I was supposed to be cut by the time we got back. In the San Francisco game, Charlie Haraway was ahead of me. He got hurt, and I ran onto the field and caught some kickoffs and ran them back for 40, 50 yards. So I bought some time. So make a long story short, I made the team as a punt return, kick returner, and learned how to play defensive back during that first year. And I think once you know something and once you know what's expected of you, you can do it. And that's what I did. And I got a nice career out of it.
And what's the old saying? You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Once you do know, you do, and then you take it and you run.
But I will say this, Ballard Collier, I guess he saw that I had some talent. He was our head coach. He took me aside after practice and said, look, we're going to play. You ever play basketball before? I said, yeah, I love to play basketball. He says, well, I'm going to run up and down this field. You're going to be like a defensive back. I mean, you're going to be covering me like you're playing basketball. I'm the shooter. And as I move, I want you to stay on my outside shoulder and slide out that way. And he did this. He did this quite frequently, and that's one of the ways I learned how to be a defensive back.
That's awesome. Yeah. Ben Davis, former Brown Lion, joining us here on Spitballing with Sammy B on Stark Live. Get on the Stark Live YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. So I want to go back to the practices again, if we could. Things are a lot different now. What was a true two-a-day for you? Take me through session one, a break if you had one, and what was session two like, and how long did you guys go?
Well, it's been a long time ago now. I'm pretty sure that we would have a morning session in pads, maybe around 10 o'clock. We'd go for an hour and a half. And Ballard Collier was a disciple of Paul Brown, so everything was precise. And Maury Cono, the equipment manager, would blow the horn after 10 minutes of this and 10 minutes of that. So he got a lot done in that hour and a half. We'd go back, have lunch, take maybe an hour nap or so, and then we're back on the field in the afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock, and we go through another hour and a half practice, very precise and specific in terms of what we want to accomplish. And that's how we would go through it. A daily practice.
Now, camp was at Hiram
College,
correct?
Yes.
And you stayed in the dorms.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
What was that like?
Well,
I'm sure those were nice and cozy, weren't they?
Well, they was college students' dorms, which you had the twin beds in there. The toughest part was coming up the hill to leave the practice and getting up to the dorms because you're struggling up the hill, you're tired.
Your legs are shot, right? Now you got to go up a hill.
Exactly. It was laborious to say the least. But you knew you were getting in shape and you were working out and getting things done. So that's the way it was. So we did it.
Yeah, we'll let the big former Buckeye offensive lineman jump in here on
right. And so since I know when you played back there, I know you played with a guy who really trained me and kind of mentored me when I got down there at Ohio State, gave me so much wisdom. A guy that we lost recently, Dick Shafrath.
Oh yeah,
Dick Shafrath was a teammate of yours,
yes,
and it was a special individual. Yeah. I need a good Dick Shafrath story from you, and I know there's quite a few of them out there because the mule was he was always full of stories.
Yeah, Dick, you know about the swimming to Canada and running to Worcester and that kind of stuff. I think the funniest thing, man, was that when he left the Browns, he became a coach with the Redskins.
Yeah.
And Dick doesn't need a place to sleep. He slept in the training room. that was his apartment for the time he was up there. But no, Dick was a very, very good friend of mine. He ran the NFLPA, the NFL Alumni Association, the organization that's having us out here today. Dick was head of that for a number of years, too. Just a great guy, man. He was part of that line that was the 64 championship line. And Dick just was a wonderful guy. I did locker next to him a couple of times, and you should see some of the pictures he would get too from his fans. So he was
He was popular.
He was popular, very popular among everybody.
It was great, just getting to hear stuff from him and the words of wisdom and the toughness part of the game, which I think a lot of people nowadays, when they think about the way the game of football is played, they feel like maybe it might lack toughness, but a lot of it is aimed at player safety. And you have to be that way now because the shots that you guys used to take, nowadays you're getting flagged for.
Oh yeah.
But again, to promote safety. But there's, you and I both know, as you go up in the levels, even just starting at the high school level, the base foundation of a player, there's got to be something in the heart. There's got to be a toughness and an attitude that, it's the core.
As you know, football is something that you work out on your own, and when you go to camp, you're ready to play. I mean, it's got to be in your heart. You got to enjoy getting up in the morning, getting in shape. Now, I did realize that as players played along the way, they worked out less and less, maybe because we were professionals and we had it was more than just a college career. But yeah, you have to be wanting to do that. We did have a lot of injuries that unfortunately took some of the thinking process away. But I think those injuries type now being trying to be protected and make it safer for football to continue.
Ben Davis is our guest here on Spitballin' with Sammy B live on the Stark Media YouTube channel. Boy, the skies are starting to look a little troubling as we speak up here from the Shaker Heights Country Club. Hopefully a storm or two does not roll by here quickly. Ben, let's kind of bring her full circle now and jump into the Cleveland Browns now. Obviously, it is never a dull off season with the team and organization, but at some point you've got to put things behind you and you've got to move on and get ready to play. And they've got a preseason game coming up Saturday, week off, and they open up with Carolina down in Carolina. Your look at the version of the Cleveland Browns this year, how do you see things shaking out, at least for our first 11 with Jacoby under center, and we'll kind of roll from there?
Well, I will say that I have not followed the Browns close enough to be a critic. I'm a fan now.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the beginning of the season and have all the optimism in the world that we're going to go to the Super Bowl or at least get into the playoffs. And I've been more encouraged as this year arose, and last year we got a good coach, I think, there in Stefanski. We have all the makings of a championship team. We need a leader, and my interest has been in the secondary,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that the secondary will stand up against any secondary in the NFL in terms of all spots, corners, safeties, even the linebackers. I think we got with the type of defense we play. Just to net it out, I'm looking for a very, very good season. Everybody's talking about Watson and him being ready later on in the season. I think we can carry it for a while and do well. So I'm looking for a successful ending to this season. I think I'm pretty sure we can make the playoffs, and hope we can go further than that.
Yeah. One more on Deshaun, because it's gonna be over 2 years, maybe 2 years plus a couple of months since he's kind of taken a live snap during an NFL game with everything going on and flying around. How difficult is that going to be? Because the NFL is the highest level that it is.
Sure.
And if you're out of action for over 2 years,
sure, Yeah.
What's that going to be like?
Well, I tell you, I had an injury back in my career, and I was out for the whole year. And I mean, I tried to do as much as I can in the off season on my own, strength wise, mobility wise, and once you get back on the field, I think you can make that transition into that position that you're playing extremely well if you're staying with your workouts and doing the things that you know you need to do. We saw Deshaun have some issues, some small issues in the exhibition game coming up, but I mean that's the way it is, and you get those out of you, then I think you're going to be just as good as you were, as good as he was when he was with the Texans.
Should be good. Ben Davis, thank you so much for coming
All
over.
right, my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
You got it.
Bye-bye.
Ben Davis, former Cleveland Brown, and a little action with the Detroit Lions. We're going to let Ben head up and go over and get a hole in one.
Time to hit the sticks.
Time to hit him straight and hit a hole in one there. There you go.
The word on the street here is that there's a trip to Palm Springs on the line here.
That's
at this
what
deal.
I heard, to play in the it's like trying to use it. I don't want to say the Super Bowl of the alumni golf tournament, but it's. I think you only take what? Is it 30?
Yep.
And they get to go down to Palm Springs, and everything's paid for, which is nice. And you get to go out there and golf with the best of the best. So we got some other great guests coming up here throughout the afternoon. We're coming to you live atop the what would you call this area? I don't want to call it the porch or the patio.
The mezzanine.
I would say the expanded mezzanine here at the Shaker Heights Country Club as we look out over the putting green and a couple of the finishing holes. Nice swimming pool out here to our right, a little makeshift bar out here as well. They had a great lunch was served up here, and guys are out there golfing. They'll try to get all 18 holes in today. They got some great fundraising opportunities today, and we're certainly very happy and thankful to be able to come up and broadcast today here at the NFL Alumni Association golf outing. And you're no stranger to these golf outings, whether it's covering or playing in them, and it's a pretty cool deal, isn't it?
Yeah, it always is. When you can get a lot of good partners together, big partners inside of the community to be able to give back, help those that are less fortunate, help those that are in need. And we know that today it's about the Special Olympics and what they stand for and how many people that they're able to help. You look at these legends of the game that come out here. I mean, we've always talked about how special the game of football is in Canton, Ohio, the birthplace of football, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and everything that the Hall of Fame Village is doing over there. Stark County, we just got a chance to have opening weekend of Ohio high school football on Friday and Saturday and even Thursday night. So all of Stark County, we know the hustle and bustle that goes on there, getting ready for that, and the big production that it is, and the following that it has, and then even bigger than that, Northeast Ohio, which encompasses our Cleveland Browns. Although strap in. I know Ben
Wild
Davis
ride,
mentioned he's expecting big things. I am too, but I think as it starts out now, it's an uphill climb. It's not where we might have thought over the last couple of years, where you've already made that uphill climb to get out of the cellar when you were 0-16 with you and some rough lean years there as the Haslams took over and trying to figure out the direction of this franchise. And now it seems like there's been a couple steps backwards, obviously, with everything that's going on with Deshaun Watson. That kind of plays into it. But, the thing that really sticks out to me is the center situation.
Lost two guys already.
You lose two centers. One guy, I believe, was a Treader. He left town.
Treader left. Nick Harris got injured. The backup to the backup got injured. So you're scrambling already.
Yeah.
You're scrambling already. And people think, oh, it's just a center. Well, you would know. The center is your second quarterback out there, okay?
Yep.
He's dissecting what he thinks. He's looking up and relaying that to the quarterback. He's got to get the ball to him. He's got to get his head up. He's got to block. He's got to pull sometimes. You got to get back and pass. He's got to block. He's got to be your guy. And, the quarterback-center relationship is so, so important. And if you're playing musical chairs with that guy, through nobody's fault, guys are getting hurt, but that's hard. That's hard to do. On the fly, it's hard.
And I even look back to a few years ago. It was 2 years ago when they had the Steelers. They finished at the end of the year with the Steelers, and then they opened up with them in the playoffs. And there was a situation, I want to say it was the guard spot, and you had the undrafted rookie from Northwestern who ended up starting the playoff game, hadn't even met Baker Mayfield.
Didn't even know him.
Up
Never
until
met him.
day of, and you're sitting there in the locker room thinking, okay, how well is this really going to go over if you got a guy that doesn't even know who the starting quarterback is, hasn't met, not on the same page, you're still trying to figure out verbiage, cadence, plays, checks, audibles, and it's the professional football league. You got TJ Watt over there. You've got Cam Hayward over there, like an absolute nightmare. You're walking into this, but as an undrafted free agent, you never even thought that you were going to get that shot before the end of the year. You're lucky just to be on the practice squad, getting a look, potentially getting just to the 53 man, let alone the 44 that they dress are on the sidelines for game day. So, you never really know how things are going to shake out. The one thing you do know, these are professionals. You're paid to be a professional, to be prepared. This isn't the high school ranks where, guard went down. Now we got to put the backup in. Does he even know the base package of plays?
The answer's no.
You're getting paid money because you're expected to be a smart enough guy to be able to pick up within just a few days. Now, some offenses are more complex than others. But I think now we've gotten to a point in, let's say maybe, let's see a little sprinkling coming down back there. We'll call it the new age of offenses, where terminologies they try and make it as clear as possible so that you can, have guys that you bring in within a week and they can actually get out there and play for you.
Yeah.
And a cool little deal back here, man. I don't know if you've seen this basket or the basket drop where you're going to have all these balls that come in here. They are flying above right now. We'll have this video out here for you, this drone.
Okay.
There's going to be a big pot of money.
Here it comes.
And if one goes in the hole, the wings have expanded. We're waiting for the release.
There
and the shake is out. There it is.
So they got to go into the hole.
Do we have any? Go, 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 go. Da, 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 da.
Doesn't look like it.
So do we gather back up or do we go closest to the hole?
At some point, you might have to do that. Was that the second drop? Because I see yellow golf balls, white golf balls. Are they gonna regather and go back up again? That's the question. By the way, we are live right now. You can check this out on the Stark Media YouTube channel.
Brian Brennan. Tell you what, he's gonna be pretty happy. Right?
Oh yeah.
What does he get? Do we know what the prize was? See, I thought it was roughly around $5,000.
Oh, yeah, that would make Brian happy.
You get 500. Okay, 500. I got the 500.
Well, that would make me happy.
Yeah.
I'll take 500. Okay. I'll take 500. Yeah, go Brian, number 86.
Okay,
the
so
sure-hand guy.
Recently, this was done at another event in Northeast Ohio where they did it with a helicopter.
Oh, the real deal.
Now, you got the drone who comes around here and does this now, but they had a helicopter that flew over, and I'm not sure what the event was for. Our buddy, good buddy Mike Desiker from down there in the Belton Village area over at Golf Galaxy, he was there, and he videoed this thing, and you got the chopper that comes flying in. You think Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to repel out of this thing, and they dropped the balls out of there. It was a pretty big deal. Now, that pot, I think, was a little bit bigger. It was something like $5,000, but you get all these guys that they pay into here, and you see, obviously, how many golf balls are out there. You get close to 100.
Yeah.
Those proceeds now go to these signs here behind us, the Special Olympics Ohio. You can sponsor an athlete for the state games. And that's what it's all about, man. You kind of you cued me in there on that last question, but really these events, these golf events, it's all about helping people.
Yeah.
If we can't help others, then what are we doing here in the first place? I know we got a lot of great guys out there. We're looking to maybe get Bernie Kosar to come back over here and jump on with us. Will Spencer, who you got a chance to see him get inducted to the Maslin Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
that's
Friday
pretty cool.
night. That was pretty cool. Friday night against Moeller, Maslin falling short 49-31, but Will was there and got honored, and I think there was a class of around 5 or 6. We'll get into that as we go through. But you're right; these events, because you're always looking to help, and really no donation, no money, no raffle ticket, no anything is too small. And obviously, the higher up you go with some of the events and the folks you're able to attract and you can do really well in helping organizations like the Special Olympics and other great organizations around Canton, Stark County, and Northeast Ohio. And that's exactly what they're doing here today. So they had the golf ball drop. Brian Brennan was the lucky winner today, former Browns wide receiver. Probably one of the best possession wide receivers ever to play at the NFL level. He was a guy that he didn't have sprinter speed. He wasn't going to blow by you and do a 4.3. But if the ball was around him on 3rd and 8 and you needed 6, he was going to catch it, cradle it, hit the ground, and get up and give you the first down. And they still like I do that. If I'm broadcast, I go, hey, they need a Brian Brennan type wide receiver because we got to get somebody to catch the ball. And Brian did exactly that was so many years, and he was so much fun to watch. And hell, all those Browns teams were were must-see TV back in the day. We are broadcasting live right now. It's Spitballing with Sammy B at the Shaker Heights Country Club here on Stark Media YouTube channel. We're live at the NFL Alumni Association golf outing at the beautiful Shaker Heights Country Club here in Shaker Heights, Ohio. TJ Downing joining me as well. And we had a great weekend of high school football over the weekend. And we had action on Thursday. We had action on Friday. Perry a winner over Central Catholic on Thursday, 51-28. And then Friday night, it was Moeller over Massillon, 49-31. Teej had Lake and Alliance. The Blue Streaks were a big winner there at Alliance. And coming this week, we got a great slate for you with our great partnership with our friends at iHeart Media and iHeart Radio, along with Stark Media. Friday night, at Bob Cummings Field, the Glen Oak Golden Eagles will host the Massillon Tigers at 7 p.m. TJ, Mark, and Jim will have the call on 99.7 FM. No homering Friday night now for you. I'll be listening.
What's this wee stuff?
Yeah, you got a mouse in your pocket? What's this wee stuff? All right, so
I told Jim, I said, maybe I should just get it out of the way right in the pregame show and just listen. I'm on the fence. Any of my Golden Eagles out there listening, I'm on both sides of this thing here. Our headquarters now is at 59 Lincoln Way East. Yeah. So I've already gotten some push in downtown Massillon to start wearing this orange and black. I said, I don't know if my plain local friends would enjoy that or not. But no, I'm just looking forward to a great game. I think
that'll be fun.
Speaking of Shaker Heights, Glen Oak Golden Eagles just came up here on Friday night. Big win for them, put up a lot of points. I expect them to be more competitive this year than they were last year, not just because Scott's took over, but because they're stronger up front. They've got some weapons. They've got a dynamic quarterback, and how does Massillon respond after this loss to Moeller? I know how Nate Moore and his staff run that group over there. It's 1 week at a time. You had a stumble coming out of the blocks against maybe a top 3 team in the state of Ohio. You called that game. They were in it all the way to the end. They never stopped fighting. They were always there. It was a 2-score game pretty much the majority of the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was it got away from the Tigers early. As a matter of fact, they Massillon fumbled the opening kickoff. Moeller goes in the very first play, and you're thinking, oh, here we go. So it's 6-0. Moeller gets the ball back. They score again. It's 13-0, and we're like, okay. And it took Massillon about a quarter and 2 or 3 minutes to kind of settle down. And once they did, and they said, you know what, we're going to go back to our man. We're going to go back to the bread and butter. We're going to go back to Will Terrell Hartson. And he carried the ball, and they started getting some holes open for him. And the thing was, for the Tigers Friday night, they just could not stop Moeller's offense. Between Moeller's quarterback, their wide receiver, Bryant, and Marshall, their tailback, that may be the best 3-headed monster you might see in high school football, no matter what the division this year. And I don't say this to slight Massillon or anything. Moeller could have scored 70 Friday night. They could have. They had a couple touchdowns called back due to penalty. They had a couple overthrows that were sure touchdowns, and they still scored 48. They could have had 70. And that's how good this team's going to be. They were talking down there. They were woofing, best Moeller team in 25 years. We're like, yeah. I'm a believer. 1 game in, I'm a believer. And that's their first game. Wait till they get cooking week 4, 5, and 6 and see how good they are. Now, the same could be said for Massillon, too. Last year they jumped out and got beat in their home opener. They got beat in their home opener this year. It's okay. It's week 1. There's a long high school football season. You got to remember also, if you're a Massillon fan, you go to Glen Oak this week. You go to Fitch the following week, and you don't have to gas your bus up again for the rest of the year.
Yep.
You're home the rest of the season. Now, you got tough competition, but you're going to be at home. You're going to be at home. So that's going to be a plus for them. And they'll get better. They, people forget Jalen Slaughter's still a sophomore.
Yep.
Okay. Just because he played a lot last year, he's going to be very good. Will Hartson, one of the top, maybe the top running back in the county.
Yep.
Ardell Banks, one of the best wide receivers, I think, in the state of Ohio. Liebler, he's kind of like your Swiss Army knife kind of guy. You got Marcus Moore Jr. You've got
Freddie with the track speed.
Yeah, you got Freddie Lennox Jr., who didn't really get a lot of targets the other night. I'm sure that will change. They got a pretty good kicking game. They got some size on the line. Again, wait till midway through. Yep. Nate Moore will have that team firing, and people will forget all about what happened week 1.
Right. When you're replacing both your tackles, I mean, Tajamir Nash and Todrick Lee from last year, you're popping out Sam Snodgrass. You've got Marcus, who played over there at tackle, some new guys, some new pieces that you fit in on the interior, trying to get that running game going week 1 against a bigger Moeller team. You're going to have just a learning curve, so to say. I think now with the expansion of the playoffs, it doesn't really hurt you as much. This doesn't feel like BCS college football or your 4 teams getting into the playoffs where, you lose week 1 and you potentially lose one more. And now you're on the outside looking in. You can go 6-4 and you're going to qualify for the playoffs. Yep. Now, as you and I talked to Nate Moore about that at St. Harlumbo's for the coach's preview, his thought was, are we rewarding too much by doing that? Was it a good fit at 8? Do we maybe need to tailor this thing to 12 instead of 16? How much are we diluting the quality of football that comes in there? As I reference to my Glen Oak Golden Eagles, I'll get the my out of there right now here early in the week. Get it out on Monday.
Monday afternoon. He's already got it in. Unbelievable.
Sending them up to play St. Ed's when they're a 16 seed playing a 1 seed, and you know what the outcome's going to be. It's going to be a 40 to 50 point loss. And that's what it ended up being, I believe. I can't remember the score, but, it wasn't competitive. Should it have even been played? Probably not.
Probably not. I've been on record as saying that, and I'll say it again. I think it's hideous that 16 teams are making the playoffs in high school football in a region.
Yep.
I will preface this by saying the COVID crap started this. The OHSAA lost a ton of money. There's only one way to recoup it. That's to play more games. Okay? We all know it. They know it. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. So let's just call it what it is. Okay? Don't put the spin on it. Oh, think of all the young men that have a chance now to play in the playoffs and have that experience, and their towns get to be a part of a postseason. Really? Is that what you want? You want a running clock? Is that what you want your experience to be? First of all, you didn't earn it. Number 2, you're going to get your rear end kicked. Number 3, you might get kids hurt. And number 4, you're going to make a long bus ride and you're going to go back home. Is that the experience that we want? Just to put a couple bucks in the coffers of the OHSAA so they can get it back? Is that what we want? Or do we need to reward mediocrity even more than we do now?
Right.
And the answer is no.
Nope. You're exactly right.
The answer is no.
Yep. It's, again, for me, thinking about where I was as a senior, we had led Glen Oak the year before to its first playoff appearance in 15 years. We had to win in week 10 against an undefeated Perry team to be able to get inside of the top 8.
Yep.
My senior year, we finished at number 9. Was I salty about that? Yeah,
Absolutely.
Still am to this day. But at 5-5, do I feel like we deserve to be in the playoffs? No, I didn't. Did I want to be in the playoffs? Yeah, we would have qualified. And I'll sit here and tell you that maybe 5% is that could be the number of teams that actually, for instance, when we first started this thing with COVID, as you mentioned, how many teams outside of the top 8 actually advanced? And I think like the lone one in Division 1 was like North Royalton.
Yeah.
And
you had teams at 1 and 9.
Right.
Getting it, or I mean, come on. You had teams. I think there was a tiebreaker for teams that were winless. Who was going to be chosen to go? Who wanted to go play in the playoff?
There
game?
was, and North Royalton is like they're like a 22 seed, you know.
Yeah.
And
what are we doing?
so yeah, are we going to have one that slips through the cracks? Are we going to have a let's say back in the day a 4-6 Mooney team who at a 12 or 13 seed based off the schedule they played might make some noise and get into the regional finals? Yeah, it might happen here or there, but it's not going to be the norm.
No, it's not going to be. Look, folks, you're not going to have the football version of Hoosiers. Okay,
right.
Hickory is not going to come up and smack Moeller in the mouth. Okay, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
So I really, when they pushed it through years ago, and I know Coach Tom McDaniels was a heavy hitter here in getting this to come to fruition, and Coach McDaniels, he was pushing for the 8-team playoff region, and I thought that was absolutely perfect. I remember when it used to be 2 teams per region. Then it went to 4. Coach McDaniels got behind it and got some coaches together, and everybody was able to agree and compromise. Let's go 8 teams. And I think 8 teams has worked. Okay? 8 teams works. 1 versus 8, 2, 7, so on and so forth. Now, did you have a lot of 8s beating 1s? No, but you had a few. Did you have a lot of 7s beating 2s? No, but you had some. Did you have some 6 beating 3s? Absolutely. 5 and 4? Absolutely. 16 kind of washes all that out. So I think it should be 8. I don't know if they'll ever go back to that. There's been talk of 12. But my fear is once they start looking at the coffers and say, ooh, if we keep playing 16, we get more games, we can make a little bit more cash, then that's where it's going to stay. But I guess another discussion for another day. And we'll have a lot of those discussions here on Spitballing with Sammy B. You can join me Monday through Fridays here on the Stark Media YouTube channel in the afternoons. And, of course, we will be bringing you high school football on our great partnership with our good friends at iHeart Media. Shout out to Keith Kennedy and Josh Nagy and the crew at iHeart Media, iHeart Radio. We've got a great partnership together this year for high school football and high school basketball. You'll be able to hear games on 99.7 FM as well as Rock 106.9, the iHeart Radio app. And, of course, we would like for you to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and the YouTube channel. Keyword there is at Stark Media Team. So we certainly want you to get in on that and follow us and comment and like and share as we grow this thing every single day here on Stark Media. And we got a great crew too. TJ Downing, myself, Jimmy Ballard, Mark Milano, Drew Sarakman, Jeff Tyler, Dana Rohde, Gretchen. I know I'm going to leave somebody out. We got a great team. And we're looking forward to doing a lot of great things with high school coverage and our local colleges with Walsh, Malone, and Mount Union, and kind of dabbling a little bit into the pros as we will continue to talk Browns, Cavs, Buckeyes, Guardians, and oh my God, I just called them the Guardians. I didn't mean to do that. They're the Indians to me, and that won't change. But we will be with you Monday through Friday during the week, and we certainly hope that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can check out all the great action we've got going on as we come to you live from the Shaker Heights Country Club here in Shaker Heights, Ohio. The weather's been kind of a roller coaster for us today. Right now, we're coming down the hill. All right, it's sunny, a little bit of clouds, a little humidity, but no rain. We've had some showers intermittently throughout the day, but I think we're going to be able to. Everybody's going to get their golf in today, and Bernie Kosar and our good buddy Bob Golic are going to be coming up here and joining us here in just a few minutes. So stay tuned for that. That'll be we have to strap in for that one. That one might go off the tracks. We'll have to see.
Well, I can tell you at the last NFL Alumni Association outing we were at, I was at Firestone Country Club with my dad, and this was back during the NFL draft weekend. There was a pro-am that they were having with former players, and Bob was one of the guys in town. Shout out to Bart Oates and Beasley Reese, those guys that run the NFL Alumni Association, and put that event on there at Firestone Country Club. You and I have both been up there before, how beautiful it is, and the great food, the great staff, all that. But they had a little special event the night before, and it was kind of like a little players round table where you had Bob there, you had my dad there, and a couple other guys like Mike Tomzak, and these are all guys that they've been out there having a little bit of fun before, and so they started asking, what was the worst place to play on the road? And nobody really wanted to answer it, and everybody's kind of looking around, and you get my dad over there, and he stands up, he says,
Walter.
Cleveland. And you see Bob Golic's head look out, turn over to him. He said, talking about the locker room, he said, you had the only place to put your clothes, they had these nails hammered into the wood post. And he said, then I get out there onto the field, and I got these dogs barking up my ass.
the painted dirt at the old municipal stadium. And some good times. Some good times were had by all. Again, the Sam Berkwin live with you here, spitballing with Sammy B, TJ Downing. We are live at the Shaker Heights Country Club here in Shaker Heights, Ohio. Going to be with you for several hours here today. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just hit that subscribe button. You can watch everything and listen to everything we do. And we're certainly looking forward to that. Our great high school coverage coming up here this weekend. We got games on Friday. We got a doubleheader for you on Saturday. Be sure to follow us, like us, and share us on Stark Media, at Stark Media Team on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the YouTube channel, our Stark Media YouTube channel, which is what we're on here right now. Again, Bernie and Bob Golic going to be joining us here in just a few minutes, so we invite you to stick around and enjoy that conversation, which should be a dandy as well. Again, we are at the NFL Alumni Association here at Shaker Heights, and we do want to thank our sponsors, of course, the Quarry Golf and Event Center, Spirit of Stark, McNeil & Sons Tree Service, Simon Says Promotions, NFL Alumni Association, and, of course, Chris Valos and Associates. Glad to have them on here with us today and throughout the season here on Spitballing with Sammy B on the Stark Media YouTube channel and on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. All right, we are ready to rock and roll right now.
What's this Twitter thing you
What
talk
is this,
about?
Bob? How are you, bud?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, good, man. Nice to meet you.
Good to see you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Of course, Bob, you're still doing NIR,
I'm
correct?
still doing NIR.
100.1 up at the Ken Akron area. You've been doing that for
17 years.
17 years. Holy
This
cow.
has like been my longest job. I finally learned how to hold a job.
I'm still learning.
It's awesome you have a good job like that, but if we could redo that, maybe we could take the 17-year NFL career.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Huh?
I only.
Radio and
Oh,
football.
he says.
Maybe
And
that's
cl- and-
maybe why my CT isn't as bad as yours.
The problem. What?
What'd you say?
What'd you say?
Bob, go
Like that. And that said, that means the Clay is really bad.
Yeah, he makes us feel good about ourselves.
What is that? 18 years he ended up going. He was like George Blanda.
Yeah, he just kept going and going.
Yeah.
Bob Golic joining us. Bernie Kosar is with us. Guys, first of all, thank you so much for coming over. And a lot of fun out there on the course today. You get to mingle and talk and relive some great memories. And it's kind of like, not quite like the locker room feeling, because you really never get that back. But this is pretty close, is it? To just go out and hobnob and have some fun?
Yeah. Yeah, we used to be, it's like, hey, who's that girl you went out with after the game? Now when we see each other, it's like, did you get a new hip? I heard you got a new hip.
Hey,
We're talking body replacement parts. I mean, it's sad, kind of.
yeah, but you know what? And to be older now, and I've been using the phrase as you kind of get to the late third quarter, early fourth quarter of your life, you come to events like this, and you actually, to me, you look forward to it because it is an opportunity, almost in an attempt to recreate the locker room again.
Yeah.
Because now you can't get back your 20s. But, you get around the guys to see Go Bob today, Hanford, Top Dog, Reggie Langhorn, Kevin Mack, Felix Wright. I mean, from my era, that's awesome. And then being a Northeast Ohio Youngstown kid, don't want to make like Greg Pruitt and feel old and stuff. That's some of the guys I grew up as a little boy watching. Yeah. So it's awesome now as an old man.
A lot of us
hanging out here.
A lot of us Ohioans, being from the Cleveland area.
Right. And now, and then not to gangster this interview and stuff. But now we're we're really old when guys who started playing NFL football for the Browns in the 20s are calling you Mr. Golic and Mr. Kosar.
Oh my God! About 5 years ago, I got invited to the rookie luncheon, and I think they did it like once. And a bunch of us old guys sat there, and all these young kids came in or having lunch, and they're all just like looking at us and stuff. And then somebody said, "Hey, Bob was on Saved by the Bell, the college years," and all of a sudden these kids are going, "Hey, you were on that way," I'm like,
Right,
"Oh God, that's
right.
that's what it takes now." But you had a good.
There you go. Get in there, fellas. Give me a good one. Oh, I love it.
Bernie had a good point. He goes, when we're out here, with all the other people, we have a tendency to kind of make our way towards the people who remember who we are. It's like the other people. No, it's not so much.
No, actually, you're being very nice. Actually, we want to make sure we gravitate to each other. We at least still remember each other's names.
That's true. So far, so good.
Well, I got to tell you, the one thing that I look forward to every winter when I get on Twitter is to watch Burn out on the snowmobile. Are we going to see that again coming up? Because that's a great way to start the day. To me,
I love the ATVs, the snowmobiles, and actually the ATVs on the farm with the proper equipment.
Yes, proper equipment
is one of my things that keeps me at least thinking I'm still youthful.
He is a professional. Try this at home.
You're on there pretty good, man. I got to tell you, I wouldn't do that.
I gotta check that out. I've never seen you doing snowmobile.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Matter of fact, that's kind of why it's digressing a little bit as I get older, because there's been a couple of accidents. When I say I've had 40 surgeries, 80 broken bones, 100 concussions.
Not all of them were football.
Not all football.
I want to keep them all mostly football, but now as I age out, my driving abilities on the
ATV doesn't include
limited.
Workman's comp.
Yes.
No. All right. Well, take it easy on that thing, Bert.
I know. Maybe we got to get the Browns to hire us so that we.
There you go.
So we're busy.
Right?
That would be nice. Keep us out of dangerous stuff.
Before I get to the Browns, I want to put the Roger Goodell cap on you guys. And not about the Deshaun thing.
No, thank
you. But the NFL itself.
Yeah.
Y'all played a long time. You practiced. You had great careers. Rules and times and things change. If I said, okay, give me one or two things that both of you would like to change about the NFL now, and you could push them through, what would it be?
That we'd be able to beat the crap out of quarterbacks like the old days.
Yeah. Bernie, you on with
nothing
that?
personal, nothing personal, Bernie.
Well, I'm super proud to be here. I said it's in jest, but 40 surgeries, 80 broken bones, 100 concussions,
I never
almost
did any
14,
of that,
15 seizures.
Might have been one in practice. I might have bumped him, but that was it.
Well, but to see, and I appreciate Bob saying, running over quarterbacks like the old days. I'm super proud to sort of be alive,
now
and be able to somewhat articulate, enunciate, communicate a little bit on a radio show. But I look at some of them, like my trading cards and stuff from the old days, and some of the awesome guys that have run me over and stuff and sacked me. And, the average lifetime.
Did you ever get any autographs while you were laying there?
We joked about it, and I don't want to go from jokes and levity, but most of them are dead.
Yeah.
The guys that sacked me. The average lifetime for guys who have played more than 7 years is less than 60 years old.
Oh my
God. I just saw that.
Wow.
I just saw one of those commercials for brain, whatever, these brain supplements. And it was the wife of Mark Gastineau. Have you seen this on TV yet? And he just kind of stays in the background. He doesn't talk on a commercial at all. And he said he's got, CTE from the thing, and he doesn't. But I mean, he was one of those guys that double overtime we had.
Oh, right. I mean, to see the cost of the game, I'm so proud and happy to have been doing it. But when you see a lot of us guys the last 5 years of our lives, Mark Gastineau, we say it in jest and stuff, but we die ugly. And it's painful, some of that. So to see, you ask about Commissioner Goodell and the league. Unfortunately, us guys, we're on our own in terms of a therapy for that, and
shouldn't be that way,
right?
No,
and the concussion settlement stuff. So many of our friends, it was a big topic of discussion. I mean, we're here at the Special Olympics Day. We're so proud to be helping out great people here at Special Olympics that have maybe had a tougher challenge than us and what they're overcoming in that. And here we are today talking about the concussion settlement, and we get shipped off to we have awesome medical care in Northeastern Ohio. It is NFL players. We get shipped off to other parts of the country to get medical opinions from people that are that are going to deny us. So we see guys that are sick like this, yet getting denied, and they're spending time just in the courts as opposed to spending time from a therapeutic side of it. And it's really tough to watch.
In the beginning, it seemed like it was going to, I mean, I was against the whole lawsuit because I thought it condemned the league. But then when I started seeing friends of mine, I mean, I was good friends with Junior Seau.
Right.
And, you know, he tried to kill himself by driving off a cliff one time and ended up shooting himself in the chest.
Dave Durson Jr. They saved their brains for research, so they shot themselves in the heart.
Yeah.
Because
that message right there alone, it chills you, man, to think that, you know, you did that to be able to preserve your brain because you knew that there was something wrong.
Yeah.
And when you're telling people it while you're alive, people just think you're fabricating it. Actually say, oh, you're making up, it's all in your head.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's in my head. My head has issues there. And guys 5 and 10 and 15 years ago, really things weren't understood as much about it. And we were uncomfortable articulating this message because people didn't believe us. But now it's not that there's been found a therapy that helps, but I think there's a little more acceptance to knowing that stuff.
But you know, going back to the old days, I mean, there was a feeling of being a warrior. Mm-hmm. You know, it was, you know, I remember I'd get up slow after a play, you know, I got my bell rung or something, and Marty would send one of my back or Puzz out or somebody, Pazzulli out. And he'd be running out, and I'd look and see him there, and I'd go, "Get off the field, get off the field!" And he'd turn and he'll start running, and then Marty go, "Get out there!" And he's like in the middle, it's like a cartoon. But we didn't want to come off because there was a macho. There was a warrior,
mono warrior,
like a warrior feeling
stronger
about
than everything going on.
You know, it's one of those things where you feel like this is something not everyone can do.
Well, that and. Bluntly, it's a macho thing. It's a tough thing. And then it's a fear thing. We don't want to admit it. We don't want anybody else in our position because they will replace you because you make too much money. This happens in the league.
Was that supposed to happen? I never got cut for making too much money. Damn it.
You know, when I was playing down at Ohio State, the thought process was I don't want to let my backup into the game. He was first team All-State. He was a parade All-American. If I let him into the game and he starts getting a couple reps, he's looking pretty good. Now Jim Tressel's got something to think about come next week. And, you know, for you guys, and Bob had a chance to catch up with my dad recently who, you know, he's lost, I believe, 18 guys off of the Super Bowl 16 team for the 49ers. For me to have a shotgun view of this and see, you know, what the 24 documented concussions that he has done. He was a guy that was able to get a settlement off of the concussion lawsuit, but you mentioned to see guys die ugly. You know, I've watched my dad lose his left foot. I've seen him go through numerous shoulder surgeries, knee replacements. The fingers obviously are going in a bunch of different directions. You know, but then to see the look in his eyes sometimes, knowing that, you know, you've been diagnosed with dementia. We know that obviously there's CTE there, and to see somebody that at one time was as big and as strong as anybody in the world, you know, could power clean and jerk it over top of his head, 425 pounds, and do 42 reps of 225. And now what your body is going through. And it's tough. There's times where, you know, I brought him up there to Firestone when you guys had the NFL Alumni Association Pro-Am during draft weekend, you know, and he didn't want to come out in front of the guys because he didn't want anybody to see him like that. You know, it's a balance. You know, you want to be around the guys because it makes you feel better, because it's like being in the locker room again, but you also don't want to see guys seeing you hurt and seeing what you're going through.
Well, it's awesome to hear your story and to share it with us. As I'm listening to that, it's also a part too of, we were joking earlier about you don't, not only did you not want people to see you because you're uncomfortable with it, you don't even remember some of the guys that you were so close with. And that anxiety
I'll tell you what, though, Dad did remember, though, when Bart Oates kind of went around the room and he said, and Bart wanted to keep it clean, and I had to tell Dad, I said, you've been having a little too much fun today. I said, let's keep it clean. So, you know, and he said, okay, what were the worst places to play? And nobody was really talking. I was just mentioning to Sam before you guys came on. I said, Walt's over there. And Corey goes, Cleveland, talking about the nail on the post to hang your stuff. And then the one thing he did remember was being on about the 5-yard line coming out of the end zone. He said, I got these damn dogs barking up my ass back here. And Bob's standing over there. That was us.
We played
throwing dog bones at
Yeah.
us in the old days. They were big dog bones.
we had a game where I think it was Houston. Anyway, there was a long pass thrown into the old dog pound, and the receiver and the coverage guy hit the ref in the corner of the end zone and knocked him out. And so the ref's laying there, and they send the trainers over. And the trainers come and they're throwing dog bones and ice snow and at the trainer coming over. And finally I had one of the refs come up to me and goes, Bob, can you go over there and get them to stop throwing stuff? I said I'd like to, but they don't care who they hit, really.
I thought you were going to say they were going to come over. The trainers came out and they were going to do the old concussion test, and we're going to really show our age. Because today, now for young kids, that concussion test, it's so automated, it's so technology based.
Yeah.
In the old days, the trainer would come out and they give you the finger test.
Yeah, we used to wave. Was it the smelling salts?
smelling
If
salts.
you perked up, all right, you're good.
I actually taped some of those to the inside of my belt of my pants.
You're
Oh
kidding.
yeah, end of my career, I had a little pocket in there
Yeah.
with smelling salts. So when you're knocked out, I mean, I was knocked out maybe 15 or 20
Oh
times.
my God.
I don't
When
even
you're laying down there, you're able to, because you had maybe 15 seconds before they undid the pile, you would literally smell the smelling salts to kind of get your head together. And then you'd have like 30 seconds before the trainer would come out. You know it's going to be a finger test to see if you can keep playing. The trainers never in the old days gave you 1 because that was too easy.
Yeah.
And they didn't give you 3 because you may miss that. So it was always 2. So I had a great one where it happened so many times and I was impatient. So the trainer's going to give the finger test and he gets ready to put up his fingers. I go 2. He goes, you're lying. I didn't even put my fingers up. I go, no,
I'm that good. I knew what you were going to put up.
You heard I'm Nostradamus. I saw the future.
Exactly.
You guys mentioned, I forget who did it, the Browns Jets playoff game, the double overtimer.
Yeah.
A game I'll never forget. I was at home on the floor.
Wish we
forget
could
the
say the
couch.
same thing.
Oh my God.
We'd never forget it.
It was.
I was on that
was
same
amazing.
5-yard line getting dog bones thrown at me.
Oh my God. What was
After
what
my
was
second
that like? I mean, I know it was a while ago, but man, if you didn't want to wrap your arms around a team and an organization that day, I don't know when you would, because that was freaking incredible. Walk us through that.
Just loved it when people were fighting to get back into the stadium.
Yeah.
When they get out and all of a sudden they're hearing the cheering and they're realizing, oh my God, we left, and it started to come back in again. But man, it was just such a. I mean, you talk about metaphors, but I mean, it was like a war. I mean, we just went back and forth with it, and it was, I just remember that. I remember Gastineau. I think he got a hit on you at one point, and he went and he ran like all around the entire stadium, and he made the mistake of running past the dog pound, and he came back going, little
That's
jumpy.
not the right victory lap to be taken right there.
No, but
that wasn't right.
Well, you joked about being on the 5-yard line, your dad and stuff, and them throwing dog bones and swearing and barking at you. We were down by 10, and with like 4 minutes to go, and I had thrown a couple picks to blow the game, and you get sacked by Gastineau, and you really think you've lost the game. And you do see people leaving, and they're throwing the dog bones, not at Gastineau, about the QB.
I am so.
So
You
it's
know
really
what?
a survival mode, and then he's dancing and prancing around, and I'm bummed out, and I see that beautiful yellow flag.
Yellow flag. That's where it all
That
started.
Beautiful, yeah.
That's right.
And then
Just, up to this point, I was like, I never really got, being a nose tackle, you didn't get much notoriety, but now I'm kind of happy. Nobody ever left the stadium because I screwed up. It's like, well, they just ran 5 minutes 5 yards right up the middle of the field. It was Kuzno's fault. It was a linebacker.
Oh, I can tell you some stories about Tommy Kuzno. My dad, Tommy would have been a Michigan Wolverine if it wasn't for my dad. I think he got so scared when Walter was driving him around campus up there. He said the next day he called Woody Hayes. He said, I'm going down to Ohio State. Those Michigan guys are too effing crazy. Not going to happen.
I got a funny story about Tom. Obviously, I never played football at a high level like you guys did. I was just a wee little lad, and there was a retail clothing store. It was called Kuppenheimer, and it was in Belden Village. I might have been about 8 or 9 years old, and they were doing a come meet Tom Cousineau, and you get a tie. So my mom drove us over to Kuppenheimer. We walked in, shook hands, got a picture with Tom, and I picked out this. Guys, it was not a very pretty tie at all. It was. I mean, this was back in the. It was. I got my tie.
We're not very fashionable.
No, it might have been a YSL, one of them
have
square
you
ties.
seen some of our old pictures? Come on, really?
But this was a brutal
Cavaricci pants.
Right. And I got my tie, and I met Tom, and I went home. I went to school the next day. I'm high-fiving everybody and this and that. And one of the greatest days of my life. But go ahead.
That's cool.
More on Tom. Yeah, I think that was pretty awesome.
No, I mean, Tommy and I went way back. I mean,
your wrestling days. I mean, you guys were the.
And the thing I found out when we were in high school, and they did an article on me and him because we were about to wrestle each other, but it was all, we also were playing football against each other, St. Joe's, St. Ed's. Yeah. I found out then for the first time that our dads were roommates in college for a year.
Okay.
My dad went to the Marines. He was at Camp Lejeune. Hopefully he gets,
Did he drink that water?
I think he did.
Because my new health and wellness, I'm all over toxicity in the water.
You're all over
it actually accelerates our dementia.
He certainly drank
Please
the Kool-Aid.
be careful with this water.
Yeah. You should have said that. But no, then he went to Indiana University. You always wondered why back in the day, the college kids looked so old. They looked like they had just come from the Marines or war or whatever. And it's like, God, I want to play these guys. I played a guy when I was with the Raiders. I played against the Chargers. The guy looked, I said to Howie Long, I said, dude, he looks like your paper boy. And his whole offensive line was just laughing at him and stuff. But I mean, those guys look badass.
Just like every millennial's laughing at what the hell's a paper boy?
Whip the paper at the house? The mailbox?
Wait, you cut down trees to make paper?
Yeah, you waste. But they were roommates in college in Indiana University for a year until an infamous night when there was a panty raid, and those were another thing. Those were how inappropriate are those? They weren't then.
No, they weren't.
They weren't at the time.
They were still good in 2005 when I was playing, but we're not going to touch that
now. By all means, that does not surprise me that you know anything about that at all.
I'm actually happy Coach Schnellenberger had a 11 o'clock curfew after that statement.
Were you ever late for that?
No, actually, it gave me a great excuse to pretend like you didn't have to go out.
Okay.
Because you had to look good to your other players.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. I would go out, but quarterback meeting in the morning.
Get a curfew. I can't go anywhere.
I had to do that with the Raiders because when I first went there, those guys were like, hey, let's just go out after curfew, grab a couple of beers. And I was one of those ones that when I got nervous about something, I always had to pee.
Okay.
And so they'd be like sneaking out, and I'd be like, oh, crap. I'll try and catch up to you. I got to go.
Hey, no, this is probably inappropriate to say, but you know what? At the Browns, I would not go out, and I stayed in and did not succumb to that peer pressure. And we got close to the Super Bowl, but not all the way. Then I went to Dallas, and came to that peer pressure, went out with some of the guys, and I got a Super Bowl ring in my pocket.
Yeah, that was.
I don't know.
Are you about to put it on?
There it is.
Get it out of your pocket.
The truth is out.
There it is.
I'll never forget when I came
not
back.
sure what the point was.
I came back. We were all over the
going
place.
out in Cleveland.
I remember coming back to Cleveland and seeing a bus, and on the side it was like for starter jackets or something. And it said on the side, wear what Cleveland's favorite quarterback wears. And it was a Dallas Cowboy jacket.
Oh,
and I was just like, oh, my God. Talk about a dig. That was beautiful ad.
I tell you what, I'd love to ask you guys. With the NFL now being in Vegas, let's just say you're the hot shot guy coming out of college. You're drafted by the Vegas Raiders. You're going out there to start your career. What is your plan to stay out of trouble? It's somehow, and to have a great career, because I know I couldn't handle it.
I haven't been back to Vegas for about a decade.
21, 22, 23-year-old in Vegas with all that. Oh, how would you guys have handled that?
Well, I don't gamble, so we weren't even allowed to know point spreads, although we did check it out, so we'd like to know if we were underdogs or favorites. But I was with the Raiders in L.A., And that was distracting
that's-
enough too.
Yeah,
And I go, Bob, you going to work out? No, I'm going to go sit down by the beach and watch girls in thong bikinis
hours.
skate on the strand. Really? Yeah.
Well, you could tell you weren't a quarterback. They made sure we knew the spread. They want us to cover.
Okay.
I knew it.
Hey, it wasn't
I knew it.
until like 3 years after I retired that I realized that there were actually players lined up behind me.
I had a coach, okay, not with the Browns, okay, but I had a coach, okay, and I go, but coach, why do you look so sad after the game? We crushed them. We won by 15. He goes, no, we lost by a point and a half.
You forgot that other one.
We need to get Tom Zach up here. He can tell us how Schleister used to do it.
Oh my God.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh, boy.
You had to do it, didn't you? You had to. Hey, we're live on Stark Media YouTube channel. Sam Berkwood, TJ Downing, Bob Golic, number 19, Bernie Kosar, joining us here at the Shaker Heights Country Club and the NFL Alumni Association. Guys, NFL now. Let's go with the Browns, I guess. And I know it's going to be tough because we're our quarterback for the first 11 games. But it's next man up again. They're getting coached up. They're practicing. They're scrimmaging. What are we looking here for first 3 to 4 games? What do you expect to see?
I hope to see the brown jersey with the orange pants. Those are my favorites.
Yes, put the Browns.
Other than that, I don't have a clue. I don't know. I mean, it's we were talking before about the Deshaun thing. And, we always talked about the fact that there was conduct detrimental to the team or to the league that you could get into. Howie Long tried to get me to buy a Harley with him one time. And I said, I said, we can't do it. That's considered conduct detrimental to the team. He goes, we'll just pull up and what can Al say? I said, he'll say, Howie, get rid of your bike. Bob, you're fired. But, to hire a guy after he's committed the conduct detrimental, it just seemed weird. And I mean, from a quarterback standpoint, I don't know if it's different or not, but I didn't like the loyalty factor when it came to Baker. I mean, I thought Baker worked hard. And I think he played hurt.
Did a lot.
And I don't know if he was going to get better. I mean, what was your
off the
take
back
on
of
that?
0-16? He thought he did pretty well.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to this first game.
Yeah.
And it's not a hedge on this, but so many people now are asking about the whole season. What's the record going to be? How many games you have to win? I think this first game is very, very important to show what's indicative of what's to come. But confidence and self-esteem and belief in yourself is imperative. And as athletes, we act like we have it all the time, but deep down, we don't always have that supreme confidence. And the chatter that would be created going into that first game doesn't materialize with a W. So
I mean, Baker's looked good in his 2 performances so far. But
so I actually looked at almost a Jimmy Johnson used to say this line all the time. Somehow, some way, you have to figure out how to make a play. Somehow, some way, you have to figure out how to just win. I think not that any one game, and Marty was awesome at this because we'd lose our first game the first couple years. You go, the first game is it's 1 of 16, not 1 of 17.
Yeah,
but I believe this year it's inordinately, disproportionately more important because of all this stuff with that's changing with our quarterback. And we want to figure out how many you got to win in the first 11. I think it's just take it the football cliche, take it a day at a time, take it a game at a time. It's massively imperative, I believe, for our Browns to take it.
And then you look at the fact that what happens when week 13 comes. And Deshaun's eligible to go back in, and Jacoby's taking us to 7, 8 wins, 9 wins.
What if that happens?
I mean, what happened at that point? What do they do? Did they put Deshaun back in, or did
really easy for me here as I'm leaving?
Yeah.
Is Howard Snellenberger, one of my other great coaches with the great Don Shula, used to say, never do hypothetical situations, especially as players, because they're going to be wrong. Okay, so but if you're to go against Coach Snellenberger, God bless, I love you, to do a hypothetical, Wouldn't you, as Browns fans, love to have that problem?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
let's have that problem. Let's be 8-3
Because
or
right
9-2.
now,
Okay, because everything else is just
right now it feels
Yeah.
like from
Love to have-
1999, the quarterback situation that we've been through.
The carousel.
Always looking through for the new starter to
Yeah.
who's going to be the guy. Right now with Rosen and and Jacoby and the other who's the other
Josh
quarterback?
Dobbs.
Dobbs. Yeah.
You look good yesterday.
Yeah, you did. But I mean, it's like
He actually looks-
it feels
actually
like
looks
we're into
very good, and he's
that
very
carousel
smart.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks comfortable in the pocket when he gets some time, and of course he can roll out. He got a touchdown yesterday, got into the end zone.
Yeah.
But well, guys, thank you so much for coming over. This was fun.
Hey, one of the things though, as we leave, to the Josh Dobbs, Jacoby, Deshaun, and to Baker being in Carolina, is I do see that there was a concerted effort in the game and in the system this year, and to have a nice athletic quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
with the running game, with the we're so deep at our running
Oh
backs.
my
It's
gosh.
awesome. I mean,
We're 5 deep.
when
Yeah.
I see with the awesome Kevin Mack and Ernest Binder that I was so blessed to play with, to see Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and then see the kids behind them like that. The Kevin Stefanski in this running based game with the zone blocking scheme of Coach Callahan is amazing in the running game. So as much as I was horrible as a slow footed quarterback, this bootleg naked game that you're able to do off the running game is absolutely going to be a package that makes it actually pretty
Back
good
in
for
the
us
day,
quarterbacks.
they used to ask me. It said, "Did Bernie run with the ball?" I said, "Well, when Bernie runs, he kind of looks like." And I just remember from like Wild Kingdom or something. It was that lizard that would run, and it had the big frilly things around its neck, and the wind would catch it, and it would go up on its back 2 legs, and it would just.
Oh, I needed to be downwind. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. That's
what
what it was, and it's just going like this, and I'm going, "That's Bernie."
Golic, even though he was a nose tackle, he was athletic. They did use a stopwatch for him. They did use the hour. They did use the hourglass for me.
Tip it over.
I always told them, I said, "Listen, because they tried to get us to run the 40 every spring, and I'm like, if I have to run 40 yards, we're screwed."
We're not doing that.
Hey, so they did.
We're not doing
They
that.
did have us do that a couple of years,
I
and they did us at intervals too. So one of the claim to fames that Bernie Kosar had was I had the Cleveland Brown record for the 10-yard interval for a while. I just got winded and I faded by 40.
He came out the box good, man. That last 30.
That's right. You look good early. Don't worry about
Crap,
the
I would have
finish.
run the 10 if I known that they were doing that.
One thing though, Bern, before you guys get out of here, we talked with Sam just before you guys jumped on. The situation that Baker went through, where after that regular season game against Pittsburgh, before you guys played in the first round of the playoffs, with having a guy, an offensive lineman that you had never even met before, and then to see 2 centers both go down now here early in training camp, to know that maybe the third team guy, maybe a guy who hasn't gotten any reps, somebody you're pulling off a practice squad, this or that, is going to have to try and block a guy like this, and you're a pocket quarterback. I don't know throughout your career if it ever came up, but what would be going through your head knowing that this guy that's right here in front of me, that's my first line of defense, I don't really know about him.
I think what he's asking you,
I
think what he's asking you is, did you find comfort in Mike Babb's butt?
Mike Babb does take pride in saying I was never hurt when Mike Babb was my center.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
a very good statement.
That's right.
But as a Q, you don't want to overly think about that, but your coaches and system will. And we went the move from J.C. Treader last year to hopefully Nick Harris, and Nick gets hurt. So I actually think that it's an organizational decision to kind of have the more mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Anticipating some of this may have been happening.
Move the pocket for him, whatever you can
and
do.
our system with Coach Callahan is I should be his marketing rep for as gifted as he is in terms of scheming things up. So it makes it more duressful to take care of and solidify the center of the pocket. But with a guy like that and the zone running game with the play action, and Nate gets out the other side of it, and you see the athleticism. Jacoby Brissett, he has some size to him. Yeah. And we saw what Dobbs does running the ball. So that's for sure going to be a heavy dosage of first and second down. And the Baker thing is one of the things I think from a player standpoint is I'm so it sound cocky, but I'm so proud of myself to have played in games like the Jets and games in my career. Really, you shouldn't have played. You should have been taken out. You were hurt. You got a broken this, a broken that, hurt this.
Yeah.
And Bake last year had a broken this, a broken that. And whether people like him or not, he did. He came to play, and he wanted to play.
When I heard people say in the offseason, well, he shouldn't have played. He should have taken himself out. I'm like, you know what? Don't change your. I mean, just 5 years ago,
we never take ourselves out.
You'd like the warrior.
We just never take ourselves out. Okay, we could be dead there.
5 years ago, they say tough it out and get back in there.
You have to. Take
weekend
us
at Bernie's.
Yeah.
They kept picking Bernie up and putting his hands under Mike's butt.
That's what it takes for you to get us off the field.
That's right.
At the lizard arms hanging out there.
Well, as long as you get the smelling salts.
But for players now, I think players, it's a tricky situation because if you don't play, there is X amount of people that say, "Oh, he's not tough. Oh, he's just doing it because he wants to get a new contract."
That was the talk.
But our mindset is we don't want to let our teammates down. We want to be out there, and we don't want anybody else in my huddle.
Yeah.
I mean, the teammates have to appreciate that, don't they?
I think
Don't they
so.
love the warrior mentality of a quarterback to go out there and say, I got to broke this and that, but fellas, I'm your guy today. Let's go. Right?
Yes.
I mean, you can't discount that.
I think the attitudes have changed over the years. I think that, I've seen more guys tap themselves on the helmet, and which means take me out. I'm tired. I'm breathing hard or something. And
that's incomprehensible.
It is really, it really and truly is. And when I saw that, I mean, I could not believe what I was seeing. Because our guys, I mean, they would literally.
You'd have to be dying.
They'd be out cold.
My dad take me off the field.
My dad raised me. He said, "If you can get up and walk off the field," and he literally said this to me. If you're well enough to get up and walk off the field, then you should be well enough to play. And so I'm like, oh, great, I get to get carried off the field then. But, you get up and then finally somebody.
But it's a conflict because we never let anybody carry us off the field.
Exactly. I'm going to carry myself off.
Yeah, you're right. You're not carrying me. Get your hands off me.
Yeah, I think the one thing lost in all of this that you mentioned is the most important key factor is Coach Callahan. I mean, what he does with offensive linemen, getting them ready, getting them prepared.
Yeah.
It's a true superstar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Guys, thank you so much. It was a blast going down memory road. Continued success. Number 79, number 19, Bob Golic and Bernie Kosar of the Cleveland Browns. Thanks, guys. We really appreciate it. You got it.
Thanks.
Good to see
you.
Hey,
do we roll through some commercial breaks? Do we miss that?
We go right through.
We don't need no stinking
We're going
commercials.
to have some grumpy sponsors.
They're getting serviced right now when you guys take off. We're not cutting the commercial for you guys.
I had a Bob Golic conversion kit. Anybody who had a Bernie Kosar jersey, I sold a piece of material that you could stick on the 1 and make it a 7. And so if you had a Bernie jersey, you could switch it over, and then of course it had the Velcro on the name tag too. So I didn't sell any.
You were way ahead of your time.
I didn't sell any.
It's a Golic jersey. Good game. It's a Kosar.
I said, I'm doing this online, and then he goes, "What the hell are you talking about? What's online?"
You were ahead of the curve.
Don't mess this up with the facts here.
Yeah, that's right. All right, guys.
Thanks again.
Guys. Appreciate it as always.
Kosar,
Bernie, thank you.
and
Bob
Golic.
Thank
That was fun, fellas. Thank you very much. All right. Speaking of those sponsors, let's give them a little shout out right now. We want to thank C.H. Valos and Associates, of course, the NFL Alumni Association, Simon Says Productions, McNeil & Sons, Tree Service, The Spirit of Stark, Quarry Golf and Event Center, and, of course, us right here at Stark Media. Again, thank you, and shout out to Bernie and to Bob, Bernie Kosar, Bob Golic, for joining us live here today on Spitballing with Sammy B and my partner TJ Downing live on the Stark Media YouTube channel, and doing it all here from the Shaker Heights Country Club in beautiful Shaker Heights, Ohio. As you can probably see, there's a little bit of rain coming down now behind us. The clouds are moving in, but the fellas are still out there playing golf, and they're going to get those 18 holes in here today as we do it up for Special Olympics of Ohio, again here at the Shaker Heights Country Club. Could talk to those guys for hours, whether you were a Browns fan, whether you were a hardcore fan or you were just coming around to the NFL in the 80s when those guys were going to those AFC championship games against the Denver Broncos. And I know they never got over the hump, but man, was it fun to watch. It was great football. It was entertaining. The atmospheres at the old stadium, and I know it was, it was our dump, okay? It was our dump, Municipal Stadium. Yes, we had painted dirt. Yes, there was shenanigans going on in the stands. Of course, the dog pound. You had the pillars in front of you at the stadium. You had to look around to see what was going on. If you were seated at midfield on either side of the stadium, you were 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, 500 feet back because it was built for baseball. It wasn't built for football back in the day. So those were god awful seats. But at the end of the day, the Browns won games. You felt an incredible attachment to the guys that we just had on the show. You felt that incredible attachment to Kevin Mack and Ernest Biner and Reggie Langhorne and Webster and guys like Brian Brennan and Dave Pazzulli and Mike Babb and Eric Metcalf. I could go on and on and on. But that was just like, man, this is our team. And if you damn dare say anything bad about them,
Right.
we're fighting now. That's how we felt about our football team. We loved our Cleveland Browns.
You know, the greatest thing to me, though, when you think about the name Mike Babb and it comes up, back in the day, they were all, when the camcorders and everything first came out, they were all doing the videos. The line out there dancing, and those guys did the video, right? It was Babb and all those guys in the locker room. I can't remember how the video went, the song that was playing, but it was like one of those hype videos, and he was in, Bob was in there.
I remember
and
Bob
and,
being in
and
that.
it was a whole scene, man, and you just see, that offensive line was jacked, and Babb was the guy. He was the leader right in the middle of it. And I can't sit here and tell you that I had those same feelings that you did, because I'm spread all over the NFL. I grew up being a 49ers fan because my dad played there. Like the Chargers because he played with Doug out there for, oh God, I'm drawing a blank on his last, Fouts, or Dan Fouts. Was a Chargers fan. We moved back to Pennsylvania, so I'm a big Eagles fan. When Herschel Walker and Keith Byers are both coming out of the same backfield.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to tackle that. We asked Bob, how do you stop that coming out of the backfield? Then we move out here. I become Browns, spend a little time with the Cardinals. So I'm kind of all spread over, but I feel like as my roots have been set up here, and I've got a chance to meet some of these guys and listen to stuff that you do and see how special it is for people that experienced the Red Right 88, to people that experienced the Ernest Biner fumble, and to watch even the football life on Ernest Biner and how that played out, to hear Modell's words saying, you know what, to think that one thing is going to define his career is not fair, because the body of work that man put out there was unbelievable.
Yeah. If you didn't have Ernest Biner, you never got to where you got to, no matter what happened there. I can go back and I can remember specific plays, specific situations, whether it was a Cleveland Stadium or the old Three Rivers or the Astrodome or Riverfront or you know what? I'm 52 years old now, and I am not one iota ashamed to admit I would bawl my eyes out after Browns lose tough games like that. And I didn't care. I don't care now. That's just how it was. Your Sunday at 4:00 moving forward was defined on what happened between 1 and 4:00. Or if you were fortunate enough back then to get a late window game at 4:00, your evening was either going to be tolerable or intolerable at like 7:30. That's just the way it was. You say, well, that's crazy. There's more important things going on and this and that and the other. And you're a kid, you should be focused on your studies and helping out around the house and getting your chores done and behaving. But that's how wound tight we were with the Browns. Every Sunday was the biggest day of the week. And it didn't matter who they were playing, where they were playing, what time they were playing. The Browns were on. And my butt was in front of the TV at 1:00 every single Sunday. I don't know what room of the house it was in, if other TVs were being used or if we had to go out and watch the game. Hell, we used to we used to drive. Sometimes we would drive down to we would drive to Steubenville. We would drive to Wheeling so we could watch the Browns games at home because a lot of the times they were blacked out. Okay, if you didn't sell out a game back in the day, boy, is it pouring now. If you didn't sell the game out, I think it was 72 hours before kickoff, the game was blacked out. You couldn't watch it. Now you can listen to it on the radio, which is okay, being a radio guy. But I was a kid. I wanted to see the games on TV. And there were times my friends and I, we would drive to Wheeling, or we would drive to Pittsburgh. We would drive to just watch the game on an alternate channel back then for NBC. We would get the Browns out of, it was WTOV, Channel 9 in Steubenville. And that's where we would go there and we'd watch the games. So it was, and I can't honestly say that I feel like that now, obviously. You know, you grow up, you get married, you have kids, you're into your work, and you know your life changes after you get out of the teenage years and the early 20s. And well, for me, I'm still haven't grown up all the way, but that's okay. But back then that was it, man. That was it. The Browns on Sundays, and if they were lucky enough, God forbid, to play on a Monday night game, oh, gee, I mean, it was incredible.
TV.
And we would. After the wins, we would talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. And if they happen to lose or drop a tough game, I don't want to talk to anybody. Don't call my house. Don't come over. Just stay away. I'll talk to you on Monday. And that's just the way that it was. Again, not like that now for me. I'm sure it might be like that for some of the younger listeners out there. You know, high school, early college, whatever. But that's what it is. That's a Northeast Ohio thing. And I want to get back to that. I don't want to have that feeling of the Browns are playing Sunday. Where you watch the game? Well, I might catch the fourth quarter, or you know, we got stuff to do. I'll listen to it in the car. I want to get back to where I want to kind of have that make my whole day, before, during, and after. And then Monday, it's either a Victory Monday or oh my God, I can't believe it. But you know what? By the time Wednesday rolled around, you forgot about what happened on Sunday. You started, they're calling him off the course, it looks like. Uh-oh. Get him in. This might work out for us.
Might have a couple more guests joining us.
This might work out for us.
Welcome, Willie Spencer, to the show.
So that's just kind of my little off-the-cuff rant. Not rant. Good rant about how it was, and hopefully someday we can get back to that. You never can recapture what you had. It's a whole new thing now. Things are different. But at the end of the day, if we can ever get it back to that, I would be so happy. I would be so happy. I want to shout out our sponsors once again here as we come to you live from the Shaker Heights Country Club in beautiful Shaker, Ohio. Not so beautiful right now. The rain is moving in, but we want to thank C.H. Vallis and Associates, Simon Says Productions, NFL Alumni Association, Stark Media, Quarry Golf and Event Center, the Spirit of Stark, and, of course, our good friends at McNeil and Sons Tree Service. And, again, make sure you subscribe to us on the YouTube channel. Check us out, like us, share us, comment on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The keyword is at Stark Media Team.
Welcome.
Gretch.
The lady that has to corral all of those folks out there, those Bernies and those Bobs, and keep them all in line. And you do a phenomenal job with this stuff. And there's a reason that Frank Stams, who is the president of the Northeast Ohio chapter, Cleveland chapter, has asked you to kind of come on and do this, because it's not easy, and it, God, it's just tough when you put all this together for this day and you have this type of weather, because we're coming up here. It's just, nobody wants to golf when it's raining out, but to have all this come together, all the donations, all the guys coming back to give, it's got to be fun for you to be able to put that body of work in and then see it all kind of come to life.
It is. I'm Gretchen Ballard. I'm the communications director
She's
for the NFL Alumni.
Not fake Jim Ballard. This is the real Gretchen Ballard.
It's the real Gretchen
as seen on Twitter maybe a couple of years ago.
Right.
Yeah. Fake Jim Ballard tweeted out about 15 hilarious tweets back in the day.
15?
When I saw fake Urban Meyer, I knew my husband needed a fake Twitter account. So I obliged, and that was what I posted.
Yeah.
I had maybe 30 followers. It was highly successful.
So
I do corral the players. I'm in charge of player procurement for about 10 golf outings, and I really love to do it. I love corralling the guys. I love asking them to play, and I love seeing everybody. I talk to most of the guys in our chapter on a pretty regular basis.
Mhm.
Some of my favorites are Bernie and Bob, of course.
Yeah.
They were great together too, by the way. The stories, those two going
They
back
were,
off of
yeah.
each other.
Just get out of the way and let them go.
And
you know?
it's and I guess to me the interesting part is one being a D lineman, the other being a quarterback, and like, oh yeah, sometimes I was allowed to touch him, but even Bob Golic wasn't allowed to touch him. But even if he did, the coach's not going to yell at Bob Golic.
Right. Right. These two, I think the thing about that beloved Browns team that we all grew up with that is so awesome as older guys, they're the best of friends. These guys drive each other to doctor's appointments. They hang out all the time. They golf together on a weekly basis. And Bernie and Bob are so great together. Can you imagine that locker room? I mean, when you think about the camaraderie of that team and that locker room, I think it's amazing.
I think that's why they were as good as they were, because
really
a lot
do
of teams,
too.
there might have been, and I say might have been because we had some really good players then, might have been more talented, but they didn't have that They didn't have that camaraderie, the love for each other that those Browns teams had. That's not manufactured. You can't fake your way through that either. You have it or you don't, and they had it. And they still have it today,
They
which
still
is
have it.
beautiful to see. It really
Mhm.
is.
I love that team. Grew up with that team. I love these guys, and it's really a pleasure. I'm so honored to be able to work with them all the time. They lovingly call me their governess, like Maria from The Sound of Music. And for whatever reason, maybe I don't want to jinx myself and say they can't tell me no, but
Just say it. It's impossible to say no to you, right? Just say it. You believe
I'm
it,
telling you,
just say it.
every one of them that makes a commitment honors it with me, and I'm not sure what the factor is, but I genuinely care about them as people, and I think they know that. I grew up. My dad was a college football coach with Jim Tressel's dad, Lee Tressel, at Baldwin Wallace. They won a national championship, and I was raised as an athlete. When I had downtime, I was doing vertical jumps and jump rope in my garage. And when I was in middle school, I was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to run around my neighborhood before school. I had hurdles from the time I was 10 years old out on my sidewalk, and I was practicing. My dad would say, just 3-step those hurdles and you'll be good.
Yeah.
And he knew that once I started running track that I would just be mopping the floor with everybody. And then I ended up running track at Ohio State. And middle distance for somebody that's my height, that's not always a dream that's realized.
Right.
To reach an elite level like that. And I jokingly say that I'm the most insignificant athlete to ever be on a roster at Ohio State, because I did run with Olympians and I ran with people that I trained and ran with guys that won Super Bowls. And in the end, it really doesn't matter, because the family is so strong and so solid. And that's how I feel about these old Browns.
Yeah.
My husband did not play for the Browns. He played for the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. And
Little Falcons action.
oh yeah,
Falcons, Dolphins. He was well traveled.
He was in training camp with the Falcons and the Dolphins.
He did the bucket throw. What he did was the original bucket thrower with Bobby Hebert, where they would take the trash can down at in the back of the end zone from the 50-yard line to see if they could drop it in a bucket. They were the original group that started that.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Tell you what, Gretch, while we have you, what is it like to, like, people will show up today, like myself, for instance, oh, this is pretty nice. This doesn't happen in 15 minutes. I mean, take us through, if you would, the process of getting all the ducks in a row to have this thing go off without a hitch and be as successful as it is.
Well, the first thing we had to do was find a partner, and we partnered with Special Olympics Ohio, which has been amazing. And we just started by choosing the golf course, coming out and visiting, making sure that it could accommodate all of us. And then we've been about 7 months in the planning.
Wow.
7 months.
And gosh darn
And
it
it's
again,
raining.
Mother Nature. 7 months you couldn't hold out one perfect, beautiful day.
I thought you were going to let something else slip after you said the word
Nope.
mother. I was getting a little tense over here. I'm right there with you, though. I mean, this is, hopefully it'll dry up a little bit. But we're joined by Jessica Stewart. She is the CEO of Special Olympics in Ohio, and she's joined us right here at the table. She's right behind the helmet here. Jessica, thanks for coming over. How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Good. Okay, your role, the big things that you do, the little things that you do to make things come together, and talk a little bit more about the Special Olympics of Ohio.
Yeah, I've been with the organization in this position for about 4.5 years,
Okay.
and it has been an amazing 4.5 years. We have 20,000 athletes statewide, and I think when I started back in 2018, we were full speed ahead pre the whole COVID pandemic, and we had. I think what's so great about us is, most folks ask us, when is the Special Olympics? And I love that question because I always tell folks, there is always something going on in every community across Ohio. We're an incredibly grassroots driven organization. So, small communities, larger communities, we have local leadership at a local level that really, recruits our athletes, recruits our coaches, recruits our volunteers, and really does the local programming at that local level. And then from there, and that's usually happening. We have 3 sports seasons, so usually happening every day. There's training that leads up to then regional competitions, which then leads to state games. So, of our 20 Olympic style sports that we have pretty much state competition that happens every year. With our largest is our state summer games, which happens the last weekend in June.
Okay.
And that is our biggest state event down at the Ohio State University. So pretty big deal down there this year. We were finally glad to be back.
Yeah.
We took about last time we had a major state games like that where we have 2,000 athletes coming in and 6,000 volunteers and coaches and the entire community. It was 2019. So really great to be back, and events such as this is fantastic. We are honored to be partnered with the NFL alumni here in the Cleveland chapter, and Frank Stamps has done a fantastic job, and love this partnership and incredibly grateful. And it feels like such a perfect fit for us because we are a sports organization, right? And our athletes are those with intellectual disabilities, but in many cases that comes partnered with other disabilities as well. So, and we have young athlete programs across the state as well. That starts early because our actual competition doesn't start until our athletes are 8. So we like to get them in the pipeline and start our young athlete programs. And we have a great group of young athletes, but we also have, athletes that are 80 years old. One of my favorite athletes plays basketball still. And, he's fantastic. And I always see him. And I said, "You're still here every year on the court." And he said, "This is what I do. This is my thing, man. This is what I do." So it's great. But yeah, it's a wonderful organization. And, I can't tell you how much of an honor it is for me to be leading an organization like this. We have, 130 local organizations that are actually where the magic happens. That's that local level. And, the funds raised at events like this are supporting our local athletes as well as regional and state competitions. So yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Yeah.
But we have, so much other stuff that we do in addition to that.
Sure. Go ahead and expand upon that.
Yeah. We have our Unified Champion Schools program, which is one of those programs that I love because it's really looking into the generations that are coming up. It is looking at changing the culture of schools to be more inclusive, reduce bullying, look at opportunities to have those with disabilities and those without disabilities in the same classroom, in the same school, looking at that whole school engagement, really changing that social and emotional learning. So it's another amazing part of what we do. But in addition to that, we focus on health. I mean, we know if our athletes are healthier, they're going to perform better. They're going to be healthier across the board. And then one of my favorites is, really our athlete leadership. And we have some athlete leaders out here golfing today, which is fantastic. They are the voice of our organization. So we really want them at the table when we start to make business decisions for the organization. So we're There's nothing better than showcasing and highlighting what we do than when you talk to our athlete, sit down on the bench or sit down on a field and really talk about the impact the organization has on our athletes. So yeah, there's core sports, of course, we're Special Olympics. This year we took largest delegation ever of 140 athletes down to Orlando, Florida for our USA Games.
Nice.
Team Ohio all the way.
All
So
right.
brought back a lot of medals. And I was telling the athletes, you're weighing down the plane, guys. All these medals and all this hardware.
Coming back home, huh?
I said, we need a lopside. We got a little lopside on the plane. So, but it was great. Just incredibly powerful. And we took a lot of unified partners this year, which was also incredible when we look at that, changing the hearts and minds of those without intellectual disabilities toward those with disabilities, getting folks on that same court, same playing field, typically developing folks like you and I. It allows us the opportunity to really get to know our athletes by golfing beside them or playing beside them or on the same court. So, we took unified partners and athletes and coaches, and it was great. I can't remember the exact medal count, 70-something medals I think we brought back. So pretty powerful
that'll weigh the
stuff.
plane down a little bit.
Yeah, it's really great. So again, that's the great thing about Special Olympics too, is that we are so local, but we're also national and we're also global, which is very cool. I mean, we have our World Summer Games taking place in Berlin, which is in June of next year, 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, and we put a request in to the Team USA to say how this is who we want to take, and then they come back and give us a quota. So for the first time ever, we're taking a unified all women's volleyball team to Berlin to represent Team USA. So pretty cool stuff.
Nice.
So yeah, we're in the selection nomination process right now. So yeah, so it's a great organization, and it's when you get to know our athletes, I always say there's so much more we can learn from them. And some days when things feel tough, you just have a conversation with our athletes, and it just changes the perspective on life and the lenses.
Brings you right back to
it sure does.
reality.
It sure does.
I've had a chance through my football career, which wasn't very long, but a lot of great things happened in that short, we'll call it 7-8 year window. Two of them being going and playing in the East-West Shrine game, where we got a chance to go to Shriners Hospital and to be able to see some things that were tough to see, but to know that you were making an impact on somebody, even if it was just for a quick 15 minutes to an hour, a conversation that maybe changed that kid's or child's afternoon or day, maybe brightened it a little bit. And then playing in the Big 33 All-Star game over in Hershey, Pennsylvania, where we had our day where we were paired with our buddy, and we went to Hershey Park and got to do the rides and the water park and be with our special buddy throughout the day. And they would make signs for us that when they would come to the game, they would cheer for us. And she even gave me this special, it was a button. Her mother actually we took our picture where we're going down the water slide together, and it wasn't phasing her, and I'm over a big offensive tackle. But I still have that memento to this day, to know, we always talk as athletes, when you can sign an autograph for somebody and think, wow, somebody actually asked for my autograph. But when that girl, when she gave me that button, to know that it was that special for her to think about me, to want to do that, it sticks with you and it lasts with you. And to know that you can impact somebody, no matter what the age is, it's pretty special. And it's always going to be something that you look back on and think, wow, it was cool to block for a Heisman Trophy winner. It was cool to play in a national championship game or win gold pants and beat Michigan. Hopefully Sean Crable heard that somewhere around here.
If not, we'll let him know when he comes around.
But those things to me kind of pale in comparison. And that was those are two moments in my life that I'll never forget at all.
Well, one of the things that we do as the chapter in Cleveland, we have a bowling team. These guys meet on Wednesdays, and we bowl with Special Olympic kids from the Unified School District in the area. And there are weeks where we've had 58 kids, and the guys said it's their absolute favorite thing to do. Every week they get to know the different kids. They get to see the same ones week after week. The kids seem to pick a favorite. But all of those guys, for me, I'm like a proud mother looking out at all my retired players, interacting and mentoring. Frank Stams is a great example. Frank Stams is always on lane one, and he always has the kids He always is working with kids in wheelchairs, always. And I love the fact that, well, you can't take the competitive spirit out of the football player, right? So these guys are bowling with bumpers and whatever ball will fit their fingers. So it's not any kind of customized ball. But I am telling you, Willie Spencer will say to me, record me doing this one. I'm going to get a strike. I have probably
gutter ball.
we need to do a reel of Willie Spencer saying, watch. Okay, I'm ready. And then I start rolling and he bowls with bumpers, knocks down 3 pins and says, stop recording.
Do it again. Do it again.
Do it again. So it is really fun though to see them interacting and the rewards that they get, like TJ said, those memories are so amazing. And it does allow for people like Hanford Dixon, who cannot even go out to dinner without being mobbed with people. I get it. I love Hanford. He's a great guy and he's gracious and sweet and huggable. And you really, I mean, people, you feel that energy when you're around Hanford. I understand people wanting to see him, but he's mobbed and those kids don't care who he is. They just understand that he's an adult being kind and helping them do something that they love to do. So I absolutely love that whole component of the athlete, like TJ was talking about. That is such a blessing as athletes that we get to do. So thank you for providing that opportunity.
Oh, yes, you're very welcome.
And you have to give us the Hanford Dixon line here, right, too, because you've been telling me about this, about the push to have him in a certain Hall of Fame.
I can't believe you're asking me about this.
because literally nobody would throw at him, right? He went.
Okay, here's the stat that I was given by a United States attorney out of Nashville, Tennessee. This man grew up in Northeast Ohio, is a huge Hanford Dixon and Frank Minifield fan. I met him on LinkedIn. We became friends. Oh, and his best friend from growing up is Andy Logan, another Logan family, Ohio State legendary. So,
got to shout out those Kent State Golden Flash. Andy will get upset.
Okay, right. Steve Neff had sent me a message saying, can you believe this Hall of Fame class? I can't believe that Hanford and Frank aren't even being considered. He said playing man coverage in one season. Think about this, Sam. Hanford Dixon was thrown on 7 times. Where is he going to get the stats to put him in the Hall of Fame? How is he getting interceptions when he's only getting the ball thrown in his area 7 times in an entire season?
Yeah.
That's how good he was. So yesterday I got a LinkedIn message from him and I said, I've been talking with a lot of people at the Hall of Fame. I've talked to people on the selection committee, and I've said, I have somebody that really wants to make an argument for this, and I'd just like you to hear him out. And I let him know that I had spoken with some people that were ready to listen to him. And he sent me a rough draft of this 4-page outline with just Hanford Dixon and Frank Minifield information. I'm so excited to show it to Hanford. I really can't wait. But 7 times in one season. How does a cornerback get a stat?
That's unreal.
Yeah, they're not throwing at you. Kind of hard to make plays.
There you go.
Picks, tackles, deflect. You can't do it.
Right.
They're not throwing at you.
I guess that's something that's just like a team award. That's something that gets lost in the team, knowing that, hey, we have what we think is probably the best defensive back in the league. And nobody's throwing at him for a reason, because maybe he is the best defensive back in the league.
Yeah. It's one of those what the announcers say during a game. They say, well, it won't show up on the stat sheet, but that's how big that was. That's how I'm gonna tell you what. Minnie and Hanford, they were. I still have to this day. Now it's been mangled and chewed and bent, but I had a poster. It was called the Corner Brothers, and I bought it at the old Cleveland Municipal Stadium. It was a little setup they had next to one of the hot dog vendors, and it was $5. And I bought it, and it was Hanford and Minnie, and they have orange shirts on with shoulder pads, and I forget what else was going on in the background, but they got the eye black on, and they're just kind of doing this pose thing.
That was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, wasn't
it? I think so.
Yes.
And I still have that poster today. And that's one of the greatest of all time tandems in the NFL was Frank and Hanford. And you're right. You never hear him even talked about. You never even hear the word Hall of Fame ever. It's least, God, give him pardon the pun, throw him a bone. You know what I mean? I did that.
To the man
I
that
just did
founded
that.
the dog pound, Hanford Dixon.
Throw the guys a bone here a little bit, because
That from Bob Golic, that would be the big bone.
that would be the
big
that would
one
be the
back
big bone. But I will never forget that era when those guys played. I mean, it was just like, you knew when the other team's quarterback went back to pass, and if they dare threw toward number 29 or number 31, nothing was happening. Either we were going to get the interception or it was going to be incomplete. We'll move on. It was just like, oh, another stop. That's how good those guys were.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad you brought that up, because there's never heard any whispers about, hey, we got to talk about so-and-so, and, maybe not necessarily maybe get them on a ballot, but get them in the conversation, for crying out loud.
Yeah,
you never hear it.
We're taking that to the top.
Yeah,
I'm
you
on
never
a
hear it.
mission.
Gretchen's
You
on
never.
it.
Watch out now.
Look out now. Now you're all in trouble.
Check it off the box. It's done.
Right,
It's already
right.
done.
Yep, the bulldog is here.
Yeah, I want to ask Jess, how good does it make you feel to watch? We always talk about, I'll ask coaches, I say, what makes you feel the best during the game? And I'll throw an example out of, like, is it calling a certain play? You work on it all week in practice, and you call that play in the game, and the guys go out, and all 11 guys do the right thing, and it's a great play. To watch this thing grow, you crawl, you walk, you jog, you run, you sprint. What is it like for you to watch this? Just kind of, how does it make you feel?
Yeah, there are no words for it. I mean, that's something where you watch our athletes who start a season and they train just like any athlete would, right? You train, you get the right coaches. I cannot speak enough about the importance of our coaches, because they are the key to everything that our athletes experience. But I think when you look at that, to watch them grow, and, when you look at our athlete oath, which is let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt, right? So it's all about that, right? So even if an athlete might not cross that finish line in first place, or they may not have advanced to, like right now we're doing, it's softball season, said we didn't, Lake County, they said we didn't advance to state, we lost, and we're not actually even going to get a chance to go to regionals. But I think what moves me the most is when our athletes try as hard as they can, and they do their very best, and they want to win just like anybody else would. They want to be like anybody else. But when they walk away with a true appreciation for the training that they've done, as far as they have been able to get within the sport or within the season, but also with the relationships they make with their team members, I mean, that to me is really what this is about, right? I mean, they are like, these are their friends, these are their people that they want to be with, whether it's a fellow athlete or whether it's a unified partner. They come together as a team. So I think for us, it fills me with pride to watch our athletes, regardless of how successful they get. Of course, we all want to win, right?
Sure.
That's just, and no matter what. But they really are putting every ounce of heart and effort that they have into doing whatever they can. And I will tell you, there are some athletes out there that they've asked me to come out and play volleyball or do flag football with us. And they blow me away in multiple sports. So I think that's the fabulous thing about, they're going back. They're heading back out.
That's the good. That's the good horn we want to hear.
Heading back out.
Right?
Heading back out. So.
That's the good one we want to hear.
Nice.
So I think that truly is the most amazing part of what we do with our athletes, and what they can accomplish. And, getting our athletes back out on the courts, on the fields, after COVID has been a little challenging. I mean, we're not after COVID. I've been corrected on that a couple times, but we're coming to the end of it. So I think we're coming to a new normal, I should say. And I think as we get there, our athletes are trying to get back out there and see their friends. I mean, it's over the time when, coming back from, the quarantine and getting back to return to play and back to return to activity, I remember asking a couple athletes, like, what did you miss the most? And they said, I said, 50-yard dash, running, training, trying really hard, drills. And they said, I just missed being with my teammates.
Yep.
I just missed my friends. I just love being back out and seeing everybody. So I think, we are an organization that does focus on sports, but it's also what what else we bring to the table, and that's that camaraderie and that partnership and those friendships that all of us make in the world of sports. So yeah, it's amazing. It really is.
Can I share a personal story?
Go for it.
So our niece Brooklyn just did her first Special Olympic track meet.
Yeah.
I think it was in May in Nordonia. And I was spending time with her. I think it was probably sometime last year. And I said to my mother-in-law, the thing about Brooklyn is that she's not around anybody else that's like her. She has Down syndrome. She has, along with a list of secondary conditions. But there's nobody in her life, even at her school where she goes to public school. There really aren't any other kids like her. And it was so important to get her together with the other kids in that way. I mean, she's a fast little runner. She is very strong. Now she's 9. And it was such a blessing. She was 8 in May when she did that. She turned 9 in June. And it's just been it's really fun to see.
Yeah. And I hear from parents, who say the family comes together and we go out to a traditional game at high school or junior high, and we are always taking, like, for example, it's your niece, you said, yes. So taking your niece with you to watch traditional sports and traditional games. And what's nice is when the family can reverse that, right? And they can come out and see your niece performing, participating, competing, and the family comes out for her. And that is really where we provide that opportunity for families too. And when you asked how it makes me feel about this, I love when I watch, because sometimes, we get so used to being in the business of executing, right? Executing this event, making sure it's good. And sometimes just sitting back and watching and observing the parents and the athletes, it's almost like that allows you that opportunity to tap into the true power of what we're there for. And, with me in my role, I'm looking at finance sheets and I'm trying to figure out strategic planning and I'm trying to do all that. And when I feel like I need to get grounded, I'm going out to just a local baseball game or a local softball game or a local track meet or whatever that might be, because it really does provide that staying rooted and grounded in really what we do. But to watch parents crying as their child crosses the finish line and never had an opportunity to watch that specific child maybe do what they did. So that is really powerful. And you can't, you never, even in 4.5 years, it still feels like I just started. When you're able to really witness that and see that power and that passion of the families and the athletes, it's just a great experience.
Yeah, I think it's the journey that's the beautiful thing,
right?
I keep making references to football, and it's like everybody wants to get to week 10. They want to get to the big rivalry game, and I find myself even now saying, to the audience, guys, girls, enjoy game 1, 2, the practices, the post-game dinners with your friends, hanging out at the weekends, or maybe your teammate's house. You may take a little road trip. Don't just, everybody wants Ohio State, Michigan right now. They all want the Brown Steelers right now. They want McKinley Maslin right now. Nah, so take it, enjoy it, because it'll be here. Okay, it'll be here before you know it. So enjoy the journey and step back, and what's the old saying? Stop back and smell the roses, because there really is something to be said for that.
Yep,
really
absolutely.
Is.
And
you're laughing at over there, Gretchen.
Stop back and smell the roses.
Step back.
No,
stop,
hey, I like your version.
You like my
We're
version?
going with your version. So
2 against 1.
That's right.
You
we're going
lose.
with your version.
You're out.
Yeah.
Laugh it up.
Take a pause. Take a breath. Smell the
Here,
flowers.
read the sponsor
smell the
list. You go
roses.
giggle over there.
So, yeah.
I'll get an
great.
explanation for
That's
this
great.
afterwards, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I encourage, I
Turn her off. Get out of here. Turn her back on.
Oh, it's
No, I'm
great.
kidding. I'm
It's
kidding.
great. But
Well,
yeah.
Jessica, thank you so much for coming over.
You're very
Obviously,
welcome. Thank you.
congratulations on
Thank
what
you.
you've done
Thank
and
you.
continue to do. I can tell it's your heart, your soul, and you're all in this also.
It's all wonderful.
We appreciate it.
And thank you
Thank
for all
you.
you all are doing. And we are so incredibly grateful for the relationship with the NFLA. here in Cleveland. So
got
thank
it.
you very much.
Thank you. That
Alrighty.
is Jessica Stewart, the CEO of Special Olympics here in Ohio. All right. You want to explain why you're cackling over there like a
Has
Could
any-
be a multitude of different things.
Was
for
it
sure.
the roses scent thing
Yes.
that I sent? What was it?
I can
what
I,
spurred you to just start
I can hear a little gerbil on
Howling.
like one of the wheels. The little gerbil, like it's in
Yeah.
there. It's like, what's going
Have
on?
any of you seen Walk Hard? The
You're
Dewey.
welcome.
It's a movie called
Dewey Cox.
Walk Hard.
Yeah,
the
John
Dewey,
C. Riley.
The Dewey Cox story.
Yeah.
So
All right, I'm out on this one.
Oh,
I'll just
my
sit back and
daughter
listen.
told me to watch that about a month ago, and we watched it that night. And partway through that movie, I was laughing so hard that I was crying. And I said to my husband, "This is my favorite movie of all time." So 2 nights ago, we were at home, and I said, "Let's watch Dewey Cox." I just had that. I just really wanted something silly. We watch documentaries day in and day out. I said, "Let's just watch that movie again." He's like, "Yeah, whatever." So we put it on, and that's a line from the movie because he loses his sense of smell in an accident.
Yeah.
And she tells him to stop and smell the roses. And
Oops.
he says, "I have no sense of smell. See how insensitive you are?" Oh, so that was maybe.
Well, we found out on the way up what Jim's favorite movie is. That was Step Brothers because he quoted it
Yes.
the entire way
So,
up.
yep.
Yep.
That was the longest 45-minute drive ever in my life. No, I'm kidding.
Doing a one-man show, one-man stand-up, just
yeah.
stepbrother quotes.
Yeah.
One man Jim show.
So it started to rain again, but
It's starting to rain.
it looks like, I mean, do we have some lightning or something? They called the guys off the court, but they're back on now.
Yep.
So I mean, you can play it. It's not the greatest, but you can play in a little light rain. We are at the Shaker Heights Country Club. It is the NFL Alumni Association golf outing. Sam Berkwin here, TJ Downing there, Gretchen B over there, and we are live on the Stark Media YouTube channel. Spitballing with Sammy B. We've been on with you here for a couple hours, and spread the word. Get on here. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Stark Media Team. We got a lot of stuff brewing for you. Not only high school football, play-by-play, basketball, shows on location, which we love doing like this.
A new partnership with the Pro
New
Football Hall of
partnership
Fame
with the
Luncheon
Pro
Club.
Football Hall of
We'll
Fame.
be out there every Monday for
That starts
35 weeks
2
straight.
weeks.
September 12th. Yep.
September 12th.
And phenomenal guests.
Bruce Drennan's our opener, right?
He's the opener. Who did we just hear on the way up?
Austin Carr.
Austin Carr's in
Austin
now.
Carr's in.
We're gonna have some exclusive content from me, a little Stark Media exclusive.
Yeah.
At the end of the show here, we'll tweet out and put all over social media about Austin Carr. He just won an Emmy.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
So
And
we're
I didn't
looking forward to
realize that his new play-by-play guy, John
Michael.
he had won in his first 2 seasons,
Yes.
2 Emmys.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Not bad for a guy who went to school to be an attorney.
yeah,
And he said, you know what? I'm not, this isn't fun. I mean, I'm sure on some levels it is, but on some levels he's, but he got into sports and play-by-play. And you remember now, John started doing the Cavs on radio. When Joe Tate had retired, John stepped in to do the play-by-play on radio. And then we had the unfortunate passing of Fred McLeod. So we're like, well, what are we going to do now? And because of timing and everything, so John went from the radio booth to the television booth, and then Tim Alcorn stepped in to do the radio for John. So that's kind of how we're at right now. But AC has been the constant.
Yep.
The Cavaliers telecast for years with the late Fred McLeod, and now with J. Mike. And of course, we all know and love Austin from way back in the Miracle Richfield days, a part of that very special team that if Jim Jones doesn't break his foot in practice, the Cavs probably won a championship that year. We didn't have to wait, 35 years or how long we did. The Cavs started in 1970, and we had to wait till LeBron and company won it. But
Dick Snyder days.
Dick Snyder. And Austin's, you could rattle off the one-liners, the sayings, and throw the hammer down and get that weak stuff out of here and all that other stuff. He's a hoot, man. And the more you get to know him, not to say that he won't open up to you right off the bat, but the more you get to know him and he's a beaut. You're right. He is something. So we certainly looking forward to having Austin at the Luncheon Club. Bruce Drennan will be the first speaker. I think there's usually a couple of Hall of Famers that are in the mix, and it's you're right. It goes 35 weeks, and we get some great stuff. We'll be going live from Tozie's on 12th. I'm not sure what time we'll be starting, noonish, maybe 11 o'clock or so.
We'll be doing some stuff at the Hall of Fame. There's going to be 4 events
Four
there
events
this year.
At the Hall, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward. That's going to be fun. And we'll have the live speaker will be on our Stark Media YouTube channel, and we'll either talk with them before they go up to the mic or after, and kind of maybe go off on a couple of different roads, and it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Allow us to set the entire scene for the entire area. You know, we got so much going on with high school sports, not just football, but golf's underway. Young fella Howie Dylan B playing a little golf here. We'll talk golf in the area.
Yeah.
We'll talk some tennis. We'll talk everything cross country. We got our track friends that like to do the distance stuff. They'll be running around out there. You're a track girl. We got to see your picture unveiled. Jeff Tyler, shout out to him. He made our caricatures, our minis, our Stark Media minis, and you made the list.
I did.
And in your Ohio State track
You
uniform.
like your caricature there, Gretch?
You didn't give us a whole lot to work with. We got a headshot from your Ohio State days, and it was like, okay, go to work, Jeff.
Okay,
See what you can do.
Do it.
Here's the reality of this situation. When folks my age went to college, they didn't have like floppy disks or CD-ROMs or anything like that. So when I called the Ohio State Athletic Archives for press photos of myself, that's what I got.
Yeah,
is
that's
my
what you got.
headshot from the program.
And it was black and white.
It's black because it was never in color, right? I mean, they had to pick out those little slides. Remember those, Sam? When you had like, you would get like a digital, like a piece of film with like all the little tiny pictures on it.
Yep.
That's what they were going through, individual things, picking them out. And she said, we don't have enough interns at a school that has 60,000 students. We don't have enough interns to get all of these things uploaded digitally.
That's
what we're dealing with. I know you didn't have a lot to work with, but
it's the reality of our situation.
Yeah,
it's the way it is.
Our track uniforms back then had like this cursive O. It's just, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Like if I could have designed the uniforms back then. I mean, I was looking at the warm up and I thought, as I was sending it to TJ, I thought, it's embarrassing that was more warm up. Oh, they're calling the guys off the course again.
Boy, oh boy,
Good God, they're gonna call. This is gonna be
this.
They're gonna call this outing.
This air horn is eerie to me.
It sounds like a tornado warning, doesn't it?
Well, we were talking about some All-Star games before the Big 33 game. We had the North-South All-Star Classic, and we played that. We were hosted down at Otterbein College, is where they kept us. So I'm down there.
Okay.
Justin Zwick, Jay Rohr. Shout out to our buddy Jay Rohr getting his first victory as a head coach.
Congratulations,
and our new A team at Stark Media of Jeff Tyler and Drew Sarackman calling that game. I told those guys at the end, I said, you guys are sounding great. You guys are in your flow. And Jeff was feeling himself. He got down there and was talking to Jay down on the field. Jay doesn't laugh. And Jeff had Jay laughing like a little schoolgirl.
Belly
man.
like Gretchen was laughing at Stop and Smell the Roses kind of thing.
Yep.
You're laughing it up. Yeah. Yeah, he was laughing.
You know, but we played that game. We were there at Otterbein. We played the game at Grange, which was Crew Stadium, sponsored by Grange Insurance. And Jay and I became really good friends that week. Another Stark County guy, one of my all-time favorites ever to watch, a Central Catholic guy, Vince Gliata, absolute stud.
Man,
brought you guys a state title.
Stud, yeah.
And speaking of Central Catholic, now that they're bringing these guys in, hopefully we'll get a chance to hear from Roger Duffy.
Roger Duffy, you got a chance to catch up with Roger. And God, he looks like he could put the pads on right now and go out and play.
Yeah,
unbelievable. I mean,
I turned around.
Thought
I was looking at Steve Hutchinson for a second. I turned around back there.
Same as he did, 20, 30 years ago. It's incredible how he's kept himself in shape. Of course, his twin brother Pat, who almost was able to catch on with the Dolphins, but just didn't quite get there. But Roger, I mean, hell, Jets and Steelers. I think he played 11 years. He had a nice career. At guard and tackle with the NFL. And, of course, he played at Penn State for Joe Paterno and for Lo Kleinfelder at Canton Central Catholic. So Roger had a terrific career.
We played in that North-South All-Star game, and there was a gentleman by the name of Wally Hood. Wally Hood has since passed. I don't know if you remember that name or
Is
not.
that Lee Hood's father?
It was out of Van Wert area, out on the western side of the state. It was a longtime coach.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Lee Hood was the men's basketball coach at Mount Union for a couple of years.
Yep.
And Wally was his father. Yeah.
Wally wanted to make sure that we were woken up at the right time in the morning. So he would walk through those Otterbein dorm rooms with the air horn, and it sounded just like that. And it was awful. It was awful. Tyler Everett, myself, we had some choice words for Wally that week.
Oh, smelling salts for your ears.
Yeah.
That woke you the
Oh,
hell
man.
up real quick, didn't it?
It was brutal. And we're off the back of senior trip, which was just a lot of Captain Morgan and other things. And so between Stan Jefferson making us run 20 gassers the first night of practice when we got there to just break everybody's spirit, Wally Hood with the air horn, that was not a memorable week. Yeah, I was ready to walk. I was ready for game time, man, but I was not ready for practice that week. I wasn't practice. And speaking of that, I mean, all-star games, when I talked to you guys about the East-West Shrine game that I played in, Don Shula, Howard Schnellenberger, Monty Clark, Maurice Carthon, that was actually our coaching staff for that game. Previously, they had done NFL, like assistant coach of the year, would coach these teams. They did a throwback that year. So Dan Reeves was the West coach. Don Shula was the East coach, and they got to bring back their old staffs.
Okay.
So Shula brings in his staff from the 72 team, the undefeated team. And we look at the playbook first night, and like North-South game, I'm off the back of senior trip. This one, I was off the back of getting beat 41-14 in a national title game. So I decided to heal myself by going and spending 3 days in Las Vegas with a couple friends of mine. And
here we go.
So I show up at Houston to Reliant Stadium for first day of practice, and they give us the playbook. And it's the same playbook from the 1972 undefeated Miami Dolphins championship team. I'm like, we're not running trap against 350-pound nose guards, Samoans from Utah.
Right?
Come on, Wally. We're not doing this today, Howard. And Howard's back there, get up to the line and run it. And Shula's back.
Do it again.
It was like, guys, I think we're in this new era of spread offenses. I don't know if maybe we want to tweak this. This body's not meant for pushing 360-pound nose guards in a trap game. We're not doing trap. Really? Are we really running trap? Run it.
Run it, and run it again, and run it again.
So what year was that?
That was 2007.
Oh my
So
God.
for like 3 or 4 years, they did throwback coaches, but then it was always they wanted to have NFL scouts there. They wanted to have assistant coaches there to be able to have eyes on these guys that are potentially, between the Shrine game and the Senior Bowl. I mean, that makes up almost 75% of your NFL draft. You get so many guys out of there because you're getting chose for those games for a reason. Obviously, they missed 72's number. I went undrafted, so I was looked over. But think some of the guys I played in that game. Tight end, maybe one of the greatest tight ends in Eagle history, Brent Selleck, lined up alongside me. The Cincinnati Bearcat, longtime LaSalle player. They knew every year coming out of that Shrine game that there was going to be one guy that was going to get scooped up, and you're like, wow, this guy has a great NFL career. If you remember the name Zach Diassi, Zach Diassi was the long snapper captain for the New York Giants for both of those Super Bowl wins over the New England Patriots. And he comes out of that game. I think he was long snapping at Brown University. Smart kid, not the biggest, but man, it was in that window every time. You're your punter. Your short holder, never had to worry about that thing flying. He was spot on the money, and 12 years later, 2 Super Bowls, captain of the Giants, made a career out of it.
Do it at the right level. You're consistent. There's a place for you. They'll find you. They'll keep you if you keep doing your job. There were things have really changed with the college all-star games and stuff. You talked about the Shrine game. There was, of course, the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. They used to play it was called the Japan Bowl, believe it or not. And they would go over to, I believe it was Yokohama Stadium over in Japan. And by God, they televised it at like 11:30 at night. I used to sit up and watch it with my dad. We used to maneuver the rabbit ears on the TV. We'd watch the Japan Bowl. There was no betting line, but that doesn't matter. We watched the game. But nowadays, I wonder with high school all-star games and college all-star games, with the threat of injuries and things that could happen, I wonder how much longer we're going to keep them, or they're going to stay around. Like the North-South game. We did the East-West game, the Hall of Fame East-West game, a couple weeks ago.
Think how popular the Hula Bowl used to be.
The Hula Bowl, my God, I forgot about the Hula Bowl. So we're talking America, Japan, Hawaii. Do you think they're going to be able to hang in? Or I just don't see it.
Senior Bowl to me is the one that survives the most. I think you see a lot of those other ones fall to the wayside. We had Irving Fryer come on 1372 show, and he was one of the last MVPs of the Japan Bowl. Think how long ago that was.
Yeah.
I mean, he played on that 85 Bears team.
Oh,
You know,
Irving, can I tell an Irving Fryer story?
of course you can.
Oh my God. Mike Tomczak, one of our beloved Cleveland chapter guys. This is not a secret, by the way.
Yeah, we may get a chance to see Mike here shortly.
Yeah, he can. Do you want him to tell the story? So he was backing up Jim McMahon.
Your version and his version are going to be way
It's going to be totally different.
Hopefully he's had a couple beers before he gets on.
So Mike Tomczak was, of course, the Ohio State quarterback, and then was drafted by the Chicago Bears. So he was backing up Jim McMahon during their Super Bowl season, as we were talking about earlier with the Super Bowl shuffle and his very important part in that, which we watch regularly. I actually have a video of just him on my phone, pretending that he knows how to play the guitar. But he told me that they were in the 85 Super Bowl, and he said he looked around the sideline up and down, and he thought to himself, I'm the only guy that hasn't been on the field. So he walks up to Mike Ditka and he says, hey, coach, can I, do you think I could get in for a play? And he says, Tomczak, get out of here. And he wasn't that friendly, but you get the gist. So Mike Tomczak walks back and he thinks to himself, I'm just going to go in. Next time we punt, I'll grab one of the gunners and I'll just go out for special teams. Then I'll be on the field during the Super Bowl, right? So he runs out onto the field, taps a gunner, and he's like, hey, coach wants to see you. So Tomczak is playing special teams. The guy catches the ball, right? How hard can it be? You just like run around and really don't do anything. Well, he has to tackle. This is the Super Bowl. Mike Tomczak has to tackle the ball carrier, which is who? Irving Fryer. So what does he do? He knows he can't really take him down. So he just goes straight for his face mask and brings him down to the ground. And he's very proud of himself. I mean, he saved the team 6 points, but Ditka did not let him make it to the sideline before he met him halfway.
Oh, he was at the hash marks for sure. And that was like, I mean, God, to have Ditka coming after you. I mean, that's enough to.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's scary. No, I remember. You heard the stories from that game about Walter Payton and the whole show of why didn't you let him score? You let the fridge score.
Right.
Walter Payton, maybe the greatest running back in NFL history. You didn't let him score, and then you got Tomczak over here complaining about just wanting to get a snap.
Right, just getting a snap.
Payton, the juice, sweetness. Sweetness just wants to score, and Tomczak just wants to play on punt, and he's a gunner. Come on,
he's gonna run out there. Just be like,
what a wild dude, man.
He is really a hoot.
He came down. He gave us a pregame speech. Speaking of Notre Dame and Ohio State coming up. We played Notre Dame in what you would call, what's the five? The not a rubber match, but it was the best of 5 games. So it had been split in the history. The Irish had won the first 2 with us and Eddie George and Coach Coop. We had beat them, so it was tied 2 apiece. And then we played them in 2005 in the Fiesta Bowl. So it was the best of 5 match. Who's gonna take the lead here? And Tomczak came down, gave us our pregame speech the night before. It was colorful. It was colorful, and it was memorable.
Entertaining.
It was entertaining. I think Coach Tress knew what he was doing. Coach Tress was always very strategic in the guys that he would bring in to speak to us. I mean, we had Chris Carter come in and talk to us the night before we played Texas in Austin, which was that was a grudge match for us because we had them beat the year before in the Horseshoe, and they went on to win the national championship that year. So we felt that was supposed to be us because we knew we could have beat USC.
Mm-hmm.
We beat Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. We had Texas beat, and between us, those are the top 4 teams in the country at the end of 2005. But then we get to go down there at Austin, and he had Chris Carter there to get us ready, and that was great. He had that same year we were playing Michigan State. We're number 1 in the country, and Michigan State, if you remember back in like 97 or 98, had snapped Ohio State's ability to be able to go in and win and play for a national championship, because that was one of the lone Cooper years where we actually beat Michigan. But I believe it was it Julian Peterson, or who was the defensive end / linebacker for Michigan State, who was just he was a nightmare.
Yeah.
That
game was in Columbus too.
That was
and they
in
just
Columbus.
Straight whipped Ohio State. Still can't believe it.
And he brought in Greg Belisari to talk to us that night. Greg Belisari says, "Listen, guys, I've been in your seat before." He goes, "The Spartans beat us. We were going to the national championship game. Don't let it happen to you." He had Jim Marshall come in and speak to us when we needed that certain lift as we're getting ready to play Penn State. And he brought in Tom Zach when we were getting ready to play Notre Dame. It's like, okay, Chris, Jim, Greg, and then you got Mike over here, who's on like his all other different Ohio State level. Because people, for the most part, have always, and it'll be interesting to see how Justin Fields pans out. I think we all kind of expect Justin to do some good things, but for the longest time, the stigma with Ohio State was, who's the best NFL quarterback of all time to ever come out of Ohio State? And most people couldn't give you a real good answer on that. I mean, some people would say Tom Tupa, even though he punted. He lasted 17 years in the league and played quarterback for us at Ohio State. Mike Tomczak, he had a 15, 16-year run.
I think it was 16.
Long run at quarterback.
Bears, Packers, Browns.
Outside of that, it's pretty.
Steelers.
Outside of that, it's pretty thin. If you think about it.
I'm trying to think of some names right now.
You got a guy like Bobby Hoying, who had a little sniff.
Yeah. And
Eagles.
who was
Stanley Jackson.
The year the Buckeyes beat Arizona State with Coop, they were almost like two platoon.
Joe Germain.
Stanley Jackson and Joe Germain, right?
Yep.
Those are the guys that were going back. And
Joe
forth.
was an Arena League standout.
Yeah.
Joe dominated down there, I think, with the Arizona Rattlers.
But you start, and then you look at guys like, Terrell Pryor, and we've had some 5-star guys that just didn't pan out. We had some 4-star guys that saw the writing on the wall and booked and went somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, who was the last? I mean,
think
about the recruiting power of the Ohio State University, and look at the wide receivers they get in, and the defensive backs, and the linebackers, and the linemen, and the backs, and when's the last time we had like the man at quarterback that played 3 years, then went off to the NFL and did something great? When?
I think it's happening right now, and it's what Justin Fields does
right now.
I think he puts his arms around it. Krenzel had a little burn. Krenzel did a little something. My quarterback Troy Smith did a little bit. It just wasn't enough for you to sit here and say, "Oh, that was a great NFL career."
Right.
You might have got invested. You might have got your pension. You might have made it to 3 or 4 years, but it wasn't anything sexy or glamorous. Now, the other thing I ask you too is not just outside of Ohio State, but my quarterback Troy winning the Heisman Trophy. There's not a whole lot of Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks who have gone on to light up the NFL, which is odd to me as well.
Guys like Ty Detmer, and that just didn't really. Of course, he was with the Browns too for a cup of coffee.
I think back to Eric Crouch winning it for Nebraska. What did he really do? And
it's weird because you are the best player in college football, and yet you go to the next level at that position.
Danny Warfel.
Are you kidding me? I mean,
Chris Swanky.
Yeah. Think about
who else
that.
Was,
of course,
who was the guy from
about
the U?
40 when he went to
who
the
was the guy
NFL.
from the U? Was it Gino?
Gino Torretta.
Gino Torretta. He won it, didn't he? Or did he win it? Or
I think
he
did.
Right. Maybe like a year or two before.
Or was
Warfel.
it Vinny? Or was it
Vinny?
Vinny won.
Vinny had a nice run.
Yeah.
He won the Heisman. Yep.
I'm trying to think of
you're
Torretta
talking
did.
Heisman quarterbacks. You were talking to my dad about it the other day in the car with John David Crow.
I was.
Yeah, there's a throwback for you. I think he was one of the original 10 or 15 guys to win it.
So 1957 Heisman Trophy winner John David Crow, Texas A&M, my dad's favorite football player of all time. So when my dad was a kid watching Texas A&M football, he said, "When I have a son, I'm going to name him John David." So in 2011, I was in the athletic department suite at a football game with Archie Griffin, and AJ Hawk was there. He was getting ready to play Monday Night Football, and I suggested that they braid their hair, him and Clay Matthews, for the game, because I just really wanted to see like how many high school football players would show up with Heidi braids if those two braided their hair for Monday night. AJ promised me he was going to do it, and then he bailed. So
that was the one thing that I wanted to ask Bernie and Bob was like Clay Matthews. You know, you've got these senior categories now, the selection committee. Still, no Clay Matthews. You know, come on.
I know
the body of work he put in.
Right.
He's a Hall of Famer.
I worry that what was the year? Was it last year that we put in like 20 guys? I worried if Clay wasn't able to crack that, I wonder if he'll ever get close enough to do it. What is it going to take for that to happen? I mean, if you want to go off a resume, then he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Why don't we invite him?
Is it because
why don't we invite the selection committee on the show and just have a live going?
Well, I can tell you this. I know that I can get the chairperson of the selection committee, because he's my father-in-law now. He just got promoted into that position just a few weeks ago.
I can't wait to connect him with my guy.
I can't tell you anything from the meetings.
But let's put him on the hot seat and be like, Roger.
Well,
what's the deal? What's the deal? That's going to be our new segment. Roger, what's the deal?
What's the deal? Yeah. You know, the Randy Gradishar topic, talk about defensive players. He has swirled around for years. How is Randy Gradishar and
great player with the Broncos,
and even a guy like Bob Kuchenberg, where there may be a thing. You've had two other guys off of that same offensive line with the Dolphins. They don't want to put three, but to me, if your body of work shows that you're a Hall of Famer, I mean, I'll be honest with you. They put a guy on there, Ken Pickett. I don't even know who Ken Pickett is. Yes, he might have had a great run with the Bengals, but hell, Ken Anderson's probably a quarterback that should maybe be considered for the Hall of Fame.
How much should longevity be factored in?
I think it's got to. And my only real gripe against a guy like Tony Baselli, and I don't want to be like the soapbox guy, but one of Roger's college teammates, one of my dad's offensive line buddies, Mike Ken, who started more games at offensive tackle than any other tackle in league history, tied with Lomas Brown at 251 starts. Him and Anthony Munoz were the two best tackles of the 80s, and Jackie Slater played in the 80s, but Mike Ken was a better tackle than Jackie Slater. And if Tony Baselli is going to go in after only playing 6 or 7 seasons, and this guy was NFLPA president for 8 years, back when it was a suicide mission to be PA president, because the team was going to cut you the following year because you're going against what the owners are for and what they stand for, and they had too much power. And it shows you the respect that he had. A 4 or 5-time Pro Bowler, won the Walter Payton Man of the Year before it was Walter Payton Man of the Year. It was still just the greatest award for what your contributions were off the field. Yeah. But he played on a crap team.
Yeah, I was going to say the Atlanta Falcons stunk.
Team. They stunk. They made the playoffs his second year, and he didn't get back there until they drafted Dion in '94. So he basically went all the way through the 80s because he was drafted in 78, went through the entire 80s without making it to the playoffs. Yeah. So that hurts. But still, as an offensive lineman, you start 17 seasons, 251 games, and you see a guy like Baselli going in who started 91 games in 7 years. It'll piss you off a little bit.
Yeah, the Falcons teams were brutal. And nothing against Steve Bartkowski, the quarterback, and they had a couple of flashy wide receivers, but, man, they were bad. They were bad. And that's probably what hurt Mike Ken. I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean,
locking down Bruce Smith, locking down Derek Thomas, locking down Lawrence Taylor was not enough. If that's not enough,
and
Pat Swilling, defensive player of the year,
and Mike Ken, trust me, I wasn't a season ticket holder for the Atlanta Falcons, but trust me, he wasn't getting any help from the other guys on his line. None. It was him or nobody. So, I mean, again, that's one of those stats that's not on the page. Okay. You look at what Mike Ken did, but you got to look at what Mike Ken did with what he was surrounded by. And I think that speaks volumes too. I don't know. Again, I didn't have the Falcons on the NFL Sunday ticket back then, but my God, he was good.
We got one of our listeners on here, one of our own, man. Jeff Tyler.
JT, what's up?
All right. Toretta won the Heisman in 1992, but how about Charlie Ward that won the Heisman and went undrafted, then went to the NBA?
That's right. And trivia question, Gretch, TJ, what NBA team did Charlie Ward play for?
The Seattle Supersonics.
Nope.
No,
New York Knicks.
the New York Knicks. You're
Wow,
correct.
Opposite coast. I was doing like a opposite thing.
Where did you pull Supersonics? Like they're not even around anymore.
Just the first.
They should be.
That
She
was
said,
the first team.
That was
I
the first
thought
thing that came up.
she's thinking of Gary Payton.
She's like, I know. Seattle Supersonics.
It's a little trick I learned from my brother's an attorney, and he's always made very definitive statements. And if you say it with conviction, Seattle
You
Supersonics.
talk yourself into it being the right answer. That's right. Just walk in the building and act like you belong. If you're not invited, you'll get your way through. We are broadcasting live from the greater. What was I going to go greater for? Shaker
Greater
Heights Country
Shaker
Club. The Greater Shaker.
the
Story for
greater
another day.
Mother Nature. Greater Mother Nature is not being great
No,
today.
Sam Berkwin and TJ Downing. Gretchen Ballard has joined us. We want
Oh,
to. That means they're back on.
I get
Is that
if
the
it-
go?
if it
They
dings
had
more
just
than-
pulled them back.
Yeah. So now they're calling him back. This is ridiculous. I've never been to a golf outing
Wow.
where they
Okay.
get on and off, on and off. This is their third time.
Hurry up and wait is the theme today for the NFL Alumni Association Golf Final. We want to thank the folks here at Shaker Heights Country Club and, of course, the NFL Alumni Association. We want to thank Bob Golic and Bernie Kosar for joining us earlier today. Hopefully you saw that live here on the Stark Media YouTube channel. I'm sure we'll have some clips and photos up a little bit later. We had Ben Davis was on,
Yeah.
our first guy, former Cleveland Brown,
Mhm.
played a year with the Lions, and I think he wrapped up in '76 was his final year. We want to thank Jessica Stewart, the CEO and Special Olympics of Ohio, for joining us today. And it was cool to be. You can tell everybody that was here today absolutely, positively wanted to be here.
Yeah.
I've been to some events where there was some coaxing, and yeah, I'm here. Everybody wanted to be here today, and that's awesome.
Mhm.
I love that.
And it all has to do with you. I mean, you're the key
Gretchen,
part of it all. I
Gretchen,
think,
Gretchen.
you know, and I can see the admiration that Bob Golic has for you, and he kind of understands. And I think that people like Bart Oates, he understands. And I believe we're going to have a new NFL Alumni Association president this year because Beasley Reese is going to step down.
Mhm. He did.
I
So-
would think
retired.
that Bart is kind of qualified to maybe do that. It just depends, I guess, if you want to do it, if you want that position or
he
or
put
not,
in
but-
for it.
yeah, I would imagine. He's a really sharp guy. We had a chance, I think, I don't know if you heard over here or not, but when we talked about the event up there for the Pro-Am at Firestone Country Club, and we talked about the event where, Bart went around the room and he said, just get nice responses here, guys. And then you got my dad and Bob, and they're woofing back at each other. And here comes Tom Zach, and he threw a big bone into it, dropped a couple bombs, and then him and Bart are going back and forth. He's like, well, Bart, I think you're still just pissed off because the Bears kicked your ass. It was
Attaboy.
great.
Attaboy, Mike.
Mike knows how to stir it up, man.
Yeah. So I think they're going back out again.
Yeah.
Looks like the rain
So this will
stopped.
be the third time's the charm. Maybe they can go out there and finish and get some golf
all
in.
they need is 9 holes. The reason this golf outing is important on another level, it's not just about raising money, but it's a qualifier for the Super Bowl of golf.
Right.
And the
And
Super
this is the thing to go down to not Fort Lauderdale.
no
Palm Springs.
Palm Springs,
Palm Springs
for a nice
Mission
weekend.
Hills Country Club,
Yeah.
all
Look,
expenses.
look
paid.
at your boy walking back over here, Sean Crable. He's late to kick off again. I mean, the last time he was late to kick off, last time he was late getting to the quarterback, so to say. I think he got a 15-yarder in the horseshoe. So he got to put a little pep in his step, man. He's always behind by about 3 or 4 seconds.
I
Shots
just
fired.
I just told so
Yes.
last week, Sam, we're just sitting down to watch some TV, and what comes on? The game, the Ohio State Michigan game,
Game of the
number
century.
one,
The one
number
versus
two. And who is lined up? I said, is Sean Crable lined up against TJ? And Jim's like, yep.
Yep.
And these two were just, it was like chirp, 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 and I said to Sean on the way out, I said, I haven't seen him, they have a new baby at home, and
You guys are neighbors.
we're
pretty much.
neighbors. Yeah, we took him. I found this like stuffed sloth that is like full of beads, and you put it in the microwave to make it warm for the baby.
Huh.
And then it's like a little warm stuffed animal that they can snuggle with. So
I need one of those.
That's the one. I know. We took, but I still haven't seen them in a while. And I said to him today, I said, you'll never guess what football game was on the Big Ten Network that Jim and I watched. And it's so nicely condensed into a 60-minute,
Oh
little,
yeah,
nice little
plays over.
edition.
You're right back to the line.
No
There's no
comms.
interviews, no replays, no bulk. You're right up to the line
Yeah.
playing again. The most bizarre thing about that for me was when I go back and watch it today, it's dark. That was a 3:30 kickoff.
Yep.
I never want to see that. I understand 1 versus 2. I get it. Ohio State, Michigan,
It's a nooner.
12-15, put the ball on the tee. That to me, that should never be messed with, and I hope it isn't.
What?
Well,
They changed the time that game was that year because it was 1 versus 2. Ohio State, Michigan has always been at noon forever.
Oh.
they made it 3:30.
But they made
that
it
year.
3:30, and by the middle of the second quarter, it was dark.
And we didn't have lights at the Horseshoe
No,
at
they
that
were
time.
the
So they
temporary
brought
lights.
in the booms and they put them up over the top
Yeah,
because by the second half it was starting. It was pretty dark.
yeah.
See what we missed out by watching the Cliff Note version of that, because I bet the announcers talked about it.
I'm
on
sure
there.
they did. Well, you just got the version right there.
Yeah.
So
It's never too late.
so how? I mean, did I win the battle or?
So I said to Sean,
I know we won the war,
I
but
said-
did I win the battle?
I said I couldn't believe that you two were lined up against each other, and I said, and we immediately called TJ and said, was there a bunch of chirping going on? He's like, oh my gosh, we never stopped. And then Sean just started laughing. TJ never stopped running his mouth that whole game. I'm like, mhm.
Yeah, I
He just
definitely
laughs.
can't repeat what was said, but I guess if I'm telling you I can't repeat what I said, you probably already know what I said or
Well,
close to it.
I got to tell you, I know this wasn't Ohio State, Michigan, but I still, every once in a while, I'll get on the old YouTube and I'll pull up TJ Downing swearing on TV.
TJ has a potty mouth.
And I just think that is classic TJ.
Yeah.
Oh, I
The
gotta
cameras are right
I'm
there
gonna-
on the
Thank you
sideline.
for telling us where to find it.
And there's some guys lined up. I think the position guys are sitting on a bench. And he got the mohawk going.
Yeah.
He comes over and says, "You bleep, 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 bleeper's going to play today." And he walked away. And I understand Coach Tressel got wind of this and had a little conversation with number 72 about it. But yeah, put on YouTube. Just type in TJ Downing has a potty mouth, and you'll get to see
They
it,
were
and you'll get to
so-
hear it.
They were that sensitive when you call them bleepity bleepity bleep bleep bleep.
Yeah, and it's only 3 seconds.
I would love to say what he said, but I just can't. I guess I could.
Why can't you?
No.
I could,
So
but
so the problem was there that it was coming out of a commercial break.
right.
And so I didn't realize that they were going to have the cameras right on us with the guys with the big sound dishes and the booms.
Oh, I have.
Just open it up next to your microphone.
You know what she just did? Did you see that? She put the speaker of the cell phone up to her closed ear.
I have on noise canceling.
Now we're even. Stop and smell. Yeah, smell the roses on that. That was nice. That was. I can't hear it.
I'm really sleep
You know,
deprived.
we had we were trailing that whole game, and it got a little tough in there. And I thought, we need a little bit of
Push,
we need a little
something.
boost.
Yeah.
We needed the boost.
Who was that against?
That was against Penn State, and
Penn
that was pre Mohawk. That predated the Mohawk. That was
Or
2005.
was that just high and tight?
That was high and tight.
Okay.
Yeah, and we
And that was on the road.
That was on the road. That was 3 weeks
Yes.
after we had lost to Texas in the Horseshoe. She's like, "Yep, she's
Yep,
agreeing. Yeah,
she
that
got
sounds-
it.
Sounds
Yep,
like
that's
TJ.
TJ.
And we went over there. I believe we lost 17-10. We lost Kirk Barton that game, and we inserted a young Alex Boone who was playing tackle next to me,
Wow.
and we're over there trying to stop Tom Bahali, who's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame one day, 10-year All-Pro with the Chiefs. And yeah, it was time. It was time for a motivational tactic, and I didn't realize that they were coming out of break, and they were right on us, and so they called it all, and they brought me into the office the following Monday. I was like, okay, you want me to worry about Paul Plesny, Dan Carpenter, Tom Bahali, and what, the ESPN crew that's filming us? I said, I don't have time for all that, Coach Dress. I said, we were in a war zone there, but no, the fun stuff about playing with Sean, and as you mentioned, it was always a noon kickoff. The year before that up in Ann Arbor when we beat them to get a piece of the Big Ten title was a noon kickoff, and it was the best game I ever played in my college career. And I was teasing Sean the whole time about that game. And it's funny, we had Bob on talking about Saved by the Bell. Well, you remember the old Fresh Prince, the intro where Uncle Phil would take DJ Jazzy Jeff,
Right.
toss him out, put him
Right.
up over his head, toss him out, right? And so we kind of threw Sean out the club up there in Ann Arbor. We had Kirk Barton, Alex Boone, myself, all stacked to the right in a heavy set. And Sean, being a tall fella that he was, came up off of one leg, and we were able to kind of scoop him and toss him out the club on that one. It was fun. We didn't let him forget about it the following year.
No, you can't. That's got to be a constant reminder every year,
yeah.
no matter
That's
what.
why you guys are so close.
Yeah, we're so close.
Yeah.
So, I'll tell you,
Still your best friend.
yeah, my best jab at him was
There's more.
Yeah, it doesn't stop.
Let's establish that this is in no way, shape, or form making fun of Sean Grable, because
No,
I
no,
just love
no.
that guy.
No.
Right.
This
And
is good banter.
Well, he stiff armed me on a golf outing. He was supposed to show up to a big celebrity golf outing, and he never showed up. He told me he was going to be there. And the next time I saw him, he came up, he tried to give me a hug. I'm like, whoa.
Step back on.
I said, "Are you still upset that we Swiss cheese you guys for 250 yards on the ground back in 06? And he looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, because I'm getting this vibe from you that you're still mad about what we did to your defense, because nobody that year had rushed for over 100 yards on the Michigan defense all year long.
Would you put 250 plus on
Swiss cheese him for 250?
Wow.
So
that'll hurt.
I think he's harboring. I don't know.
Yeah. Salt, meat, wound.
I think
there you go.
I think you need to douse him. You need to clear that from his spirit. Free the demons.
Or here's another idea. Maybe he just forgot because he didn't write it on his calendar.
There's
I'm
that
sure
too.
that what it was. I'm sure that what
I
it was.
know that you guys forget things.
Yeah.
Which is why I send a lot of text reminders.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Can I get on that reminder list? Because I think
Sure.
I need it more than anybody on this whole crew.
Right.
And that's no joke. That is no joke.
You keeping up with a high school schedule now. Good luck.
Do this. Honest to God, we have a little calendar. We have 3 calendars at home on the inside of the pantry door in the kitchen. And my wife's got her schedule. We've got Dylan's school/golf schedule, and we got my schedule. And I finished up a couple days before last week. I was like Thursday night, Central Perry, Friday, Maslin Moeller, Monday, Shaker Heights Country Club. And then I went to Thursday and put in Lake in Maple Heights. It's not on Thursday, it's Friday. And I was reminded about that at home, and I had to exit out. And then my wife gets the white out, and she puts it on there. She says, "You think you can figure out the rest of the week now? Friday, Saturday?" So I can do that. But yeah, I need more. I need help. All right, we're gonna take a break, or we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna wrap things up here. All right, TJ, good job, brother.
Hey, next time I walk into the Hornet's Nest, can you let me know you guys are filming?
You didn't know?
No.
We're filming. You're on live. Stark Media YouTube.
Yeah.
Gretchen, thanks. You did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
As always.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we're going to wrap things up real quick. I want to shout out our sponsors, C.H. Vallis. Here's our list right here.
Oh, yeah.
And Associates, the NFL Alumni Association, Simon Says Productions, McNeil and Sons Tree Service, The Spirit of Stark, Quarry Golf and Event Center, and, of course, all of us here at Stark Media. I'm Sam Berkwood saying so long. This has been your first edition of Spitballing with Sammy B, live on the Stark Media YouTube channel. Check us out. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the Stark Media YouTube channel. And we're going to have some fun. Jump on, have a ball. We'll talk to you soon. Oh, the bladder.
Okay, I'll move.